Right, so good evening everyone. So today we are going to begin with the legal history part of relationship between the British Empire and the East India Company. And the question that we have written is that 1857 revolt to ek bas bahana tha. That means 1857 revolt was simply a catalyst. Otherwise, any which way, the journey had started towards taking over of empire from the East India Company by the British state. And we'll be able to understand it when we discuss the different acts which are brought by the British Parliament to manage the East India Company's affairs in India, right? And the trigger for this was general principle that the East India Company was a company. That means it was a non-state actor. Now, state has its domain. For example, when you look at your civil services, the preferences that you will fill for different, civil services, that is the domain of the Government of India. Right? Yes, the Government of India through railways and through, for example, let's say postal network or something else, there are some overlapping between the private sector and the government also. There are PSUs also which are functioning, right? So yes, that is there. But otherwise, things like foreign affairs, law and order, revenue, these are the core domains of the state, right? And it is the wish of the state that state should be supreme in these domains. And no, in the modern polity, no non-state actor should have power in this. No non-state actor should have power in this. And when East India Company became a company state, that is in 1757, Battle of Plassey, it became a political power in Bengal. That is, its journey of political supremacy in India began. Then in 1765, again it is acting like a state, it is getting the power to rule. And from 1772, it is implementing its direct rule as well. Right? And going forward, it is going to annex more and more territories, as we have seen in the different wars, be it the Anglo-Mysore wars, especially the third and the fourth Anglo-Mysore wars, 1780-84, 1789-92 and 1799, be it your Anglo-Maratha wars, 1803-05, 1817-19, right? So therefore, it is going to take over. 1801, it took over Carnatic, right? 1801, it took over half of Awadh. Right? So therefore, this is how the territory under the East India Company, a company, you do not expect a company to behave like a state, but it is becoming a company state. That means a state which is set up by a company, it is called company state. Nation state. For example, India, it is a nation state because the state, that is the organization which is managing the affairs of the land and its people, it is created by the people, created by the nation. Nation is summation of people who feel one. That is why in our preamble it is written, we the people of India give ourselves this constitution. So therefore the constitution's preamble is a proof that India, it is a nation state, right? And this was a company state because the company, it became the political power, it became the ruler also. And this threatened, created anxiety in the hearts and minds of the state, that is the British state. And therefore, from 1757, 1765 onwards itself, it was looking for some opportunities that it can cut the wings of the East India Company. A natural question comes to our mind. Sir, the state is supreme. The company is there in England. It is registered in England, right? In fact, the company, it is having privileges because of the charters which are brought by the state. So, sir, why is state looking for opportunity? Randomly it should wake up the next morning and clip the wings? Why we have to study so many acts which gradually take over the power? एक ही झटके में क्यों नहीं खत्म कर दिया? Right? Why do we have to study Regulating Act 1773, Pitt's India Act 1784, Charter Act 1793, Charter Act 1813, Charter Act 1833, Charter Act 1853, and finally Government of India Act 1858 that took away that was the final nail in the coffin of the company state. By itna kyun? The reason was that things were new. India was very, very far away, right? And therefore the British state was not sure that whether it should directly take over the responsibility of ruling India. Is it not fine that EIC acts as my agent and does all the dirty work? And I enjoy the supervision. I enjoy the control. वो better है ना? बजाय कि मैं खुद से, I take this burden of ruling a far, far away area. Second point was capitalism. So capitalism was there, and in capitalism, this thing was there, security of property. And Indian possessions, they can also be considered as the property which are of the East India Company. Matlab, this thing was there that state should not interfere in the affairs of the companies. It goes against the principle of capitalism. अगर जो state है वो interfere करता है किसी भी company के affairs में. And therefore this hesitation was there that should we or should we not interfere. Another thing was there, lobbying. That is, East India Company also had many parliamentarians in their pockets, right? Many of the parliamentarians, they were also the shareholders of the company, right? So therefore this conflict of interest was also present. Because of these reasons, this hesitation is there, and they are not taking one single step. Jhatka nahi kar rahe, they are doing halal, right? So therefore that is what is happening. Now they were looking for opportunity. Opportunity came in the form of what you call as the 1770 Great Bengal Famine. Great Bengal Famine was the first time when some whistleblowing activity took place in the world. You know what whistleblowing? Whistleblowing is when some insider reveals the dirty doing of any entity to the outside world, right? Whistleblower, right? Whistleblowing, right? So therefore, for the first time, some of the company officials, they were so they were so disturbed with the amount of deaths which took place in India. 1 crore Indians died in the Great Bengal Famine, and East India Company was responsible for it, and East India Company did not do anything to save those people. For example, by importing food products from food grains from the outside, or kuch nahi kiya, right? And therefore they started leaking information. They started publishing articles in London that this is how the East India Company it is operating, which brought a lot of pressure on the company, because Britain is a democracy. In a democracy, जनता क्या सोचती है वो matter करता है. It creates pressure on the government, right? So therefore that was one, that in 1770 this badnami ho rahi hai, this disrepute is coming to the company. That is one of the factors. Second factor was that around the time period of 1770, the company went bankrupt, Kangal. So therefore you can ask a question, but sir, at one point of time you are telling us that from 1757 to 1765 there was Plassey plunder. Then you are telling us that from 1765 onwards the company got a systematic source of additional income. That is the land revenue of the richest province of India, that is Bengal. And then sir, now you are telling us that the same company is going bankrupt. So sir, paisa kahan ja raha tha? Where was the money going? Was there any leakage which was taking place? So leakage was taking place in the form of dividends. Shareholders, they get dividends. Shareholders, they get dividends. That is, whatever the company is earning, that is shared with the shareholders in the form of dividends, right? So therefore, a lot of this profit was shared with the shareholders in the form of dividends. That is one aspect. Second aspect is any company, it functions on the basis of leverage. Leverage, it means that you have 10 rupees, but you are playing a game of 100 rupees. And you play that game by taking loans from the banks. So therefore, when you take a loan from the bank, you tell them that my present earning is 1 crore rupees a year, right? Or present earning is 100 crore rupees a year. And therefore, I want to take a loan of 1000 crore rupees. The bank also thinks that fine, the company is stable, it is earning 100 crore rupees per year. Over a period of 10 years, over a period of 20 years, or over a period of 50 years, I will be able to earn interest, and also will be able to get back my principal. That is how people like Vijay Mallya take place. That is how people like Nirav Modi take place. Because they play on leverage. Otherwise, these people are so rich, how can a company like Kingfisher go bankrupt? How can Nirav Modi go bankrupt? Because of leverage. औकात 10 रुपए की होती है, गेम खेलना होता है 100 रुपए पे, and that is the principle of capitalism. That is the principle of capitalism in general, right? Why? Because you reinvest. The whole game of capitalism is to invest more and more money to generate more and more profits, right? So that's why financial institutions, they are actually the pillars of capitalistic economy. That's why at times कुछ banks को बोला जाता है that they are too big to fail. क्यों? Because so many big companies have taken loans from them that if such a bank fails, then the whole economy will come down. When Lehman Brothers, they came down in 2008 US economic crisis, this is what happened. Lehman Brothers was considered too big to fail. And then these banks, they start giving even more, risky loans. Right? So anyways, coming back to the topic of the East India Company. So for any company which has taken loans, if suddenly drop off income takes place, if an unexpected event takes place, which hurts the income like anything. So their balance sheets, they go off the charts. They suddenly become very, very negative, right? So in 1770, when the Great Bengal famine took place, right? In 1770, they gave good dividends, but after that, the company was suddenly bankrupt, because if no agricultural production is taking place, no land revenue will come to the state. That is the company state. If no agricultural production is taking place, then what will you trade? These people, they used to buy the agricultural goods of India. They also used to buy the finished cotton of India, right? So if the peasants and the artisans who are producing this finished cotton and who are producing, the other articles, if they are not able to produce anything, right? If they are gone, then trade revenue will also come down and land revenue will also come down. Trader तो हमेशा manufacturer के basis पे पैसा कमाता है. Trader always earns money on the basis of manufacturing, right? In the agricultural economy, that manufacturing takes place in the form of agrarian production. So if agrarian production is down, then land revenue is also down, and at the same time, your trade revenue is also down. And therefore, the company, it went to the state, that is the British state, and it requested 10 million pounds of loan. And that was the opportunity for the state कि अब आया ऊंट पहाड़ के नीचे. That was the opportunity. It is the public money which I'll be giving you. It is the taxpayer money which I'll be giving you. And I cannot give this money randomly. So there are some conditions that you need to abide by. What if today I give you money and tomorrow again you splurge this money and tell me again that again I am bankrupt? So where did your all money go? One leakage was dividends. What about the wars? What about the war expenditure? Right? Battle of Plassey, fine. It is monetarily fine with you. Right? But otherwise देखा जाए तो 3 Carnatic wars somehow, चाहे आपकी गलती हो चाहे ना हो, 3 Carnatic wars you have fought that emptied your pockets, combined with Battle of Plassey 1757, fine, that filled your pockets, right? But then your Battle of Buxar 1764, then 1766 to 69, first Anglo-Mysore war, right? So all of these things are taking place, right? So therefore कहीं ना कहीं war expenditure की वजह से भी leakage हुआ, right? So therefore these are the things, right? So therefore if I am giving you public money, this is the opportunity for me to bring you under my supervision or control. And this is how a select committee of parliament was set up in 1772, right? And after that the product was the Regulating Act of 1773 passed by the British Parliament, which regulated the affairs of the company, which regulated the conduct of the company, right? So therefore that kind of scenario. 2 words are important: regulation, control. Control is a stronger word than regulation. Today we have regulators in the form of SEBI, in the form of Reserve Bank of India. But before 1991, we say that we had Inspector Raj. That is, we are simply trying to say, today we have regulation. Pre-1991, pre-liberalization, we had control. Control is when, for example, in the day-to-day activities of a bank, the Reserve Bank of India intervenes. For example, if such a rule is brought by the Reserve Bank of India that before giving any loan, you have to take prior permission of the Reserve Bank of India, then it is control. When Reserve Bank of India in day-to-day matters passes some directions to the Reserve Bank of India, that is control. Regulation is fine that once a quarter we can do some inspection, right? Or once 6 months we can do some inspections, and if you find that you're not working as per the norms, then we can levy some penalty on you, we can also suspend your license, we can also end your license, right? So this is a regulation, right? That is, regulation is lighter than control. And that is the difference between the Regulating Act of 1773 and the Pitt's India Act of 1784. So you can imagine Pitt's India Act, there is a dog called Pitbull, right? Right. So imagine that Pitt's India Act, Pitbull, right? More strong, right? More control, right? Pitbull ऐसे पकड़ लेता तो हाथ ही नहीं छोड़ता है, right? So therefore that kind of scenario, it is more control. Whereas Regulating Act 1773 नाम में ही है that it is about regulation, right? So therefore Board of Control was set up by the Pitt's India Act of 1784, which established control of the British state over the East India Company. And Regulating Act of 1773 established regulation over the East India Company, right? So therefore, and जैसे जैसे हर अगला act आता जाएगा, as every next act keeps on coming, we will be able to identify by looking at the features that how this control gradually increased. And therefore you will see that by when we are talking about the Charter of 1853, you will see कि सर इसका अंदर तो कंपनी तो ऑलरेडी खत्म ही हो चुकी है, मतलब कंपनी का तो वर्चस्व खत्म हो चुका है, कंपनी इज ऑलरेडी डिफंक्ट, नियरली डिफंक्ट by 1853. So therefore, yes, it is true that 1857 revolt escalated the takeover, handing over, taking over, right? So therefore, the 1857 revolt escalated the takeover. Otherwise, the takeover would have any which ways taken place, right? In fact, the Charter of 1853, Charter Act of 1853, it did not renew the charter of the company for 20 years. That was the practice. तभी तो हर 20 साल का गैप है हर चार्टर एक्ट के बीच में, 1793, 1813, 1833. नाउ दैट चार्टर ऑफ 1853 इट सेड द चार्टर इज वैलिड टिल द पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम द ब्रिटिश स्टेट डिजायर्स. दैट मीन्स अ स्वॉर्ड वाज हैंगिंग ऑन द नेक ऑफ द ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी आफ्टर 1853 एनी विच वेज, राइट? सो चार्टर ऐसे सोच रहा है जैसे यू हैव अ फोन और लेट्स से यू हैव अ लैपटॉप, लैपटॉप के साथ ऐसा ज्यादा होता है. सो देयरफॉर फॉर एग्जांपल यू बाय अ न्यू लैपटॉप एंड यू चार्ज इट, right? After that you fully charge it, after that you unplug it. So therefore the laptop will have a battery of 3 hours, है ना? तो चार्टर को भी आप वैसा ही समझिए. Whenever any charter act is coming, it gets charged for next 20 years. As the years are passing, as the time is passing, it is getting discharged and it is on the verge of dying down, and then again next charter comes and again it is fully charged for the next 20 days or for the next 20 years. And after Charter Act of 1853, what is the situation? जो हमारे लैपटॉप की सिचुएशन हो जाती है आफ्टर 3 years, वो डायरेक्ट ही चलता है, देयर इज नो बैटरी, राइट? डायरेक्ट, राइट? अभी निकाला तो फिर डेड, राइट? वो डायरेक्ट है, इट इज डायरेक्ट, राइट? यू प्लग इन, इट इज वर्किंग, यू अनप्लग इट, इट इज गॉन, नो बैटरी. सो देयरफॉर दैट इज द सिचुएशन विद द चार्टर एक्ट ऑफ 1853. द बैटरी डाइड by 1853, the battery is dying, and therefore a sword is hanging that when the British Parliament will say unplug, 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 right? This kind of scenario it is there, right? It is on life support, it is on ventilator. कब unplug हो जाएगा पता नहीं, right? Just that 1857 revolt happened, so therefore एक reason मिल गया कि भाई अब तो unplug करना ही है, so therefore unplugged, right? So therefore that kind of scenario it is there, right? So please write down. Parliament came to regulate EIC affairs in India by 1770s. Parliament came to regulate EIC affairs in India by 1770s. Parliament came to regulate EIC affairs in India by 1770s. By 1770s. Next point. Because, मतलब इसी में लिख लीजिए because first sub point. Rise of EIC dash. EIC was earning huge profits. EIC was earning huge profits. EIC was earning huge profits. Plus, there was political rise. Plus, there was political rise of EIC. Plus, there was political rise of EIC, which was a non-state actor. There was a political rise of EIC, which was a non-state actor. And this made the British state anxious. And this made the British state anxious. And this made the British state anxious. ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के लिखिए. Especially in context of ongoing American Revolution. Especially in context of ongoing American Revolution 6583. Especially in context of ongoing American Revolution 6583. In brackets 1765-83. 1765-83. Brackets closed. Where British settlers where British settlers had started revolt against British rule, had started revolt against British rule, had started revolt against British rule. Therefore fear, what if EIC does the same? Therefore fear, what if EIC does the same in India? Therefore fear, what if EIC does the same in India? Brackets closed. Therefore fear, what if EIC does the same in India? Brackets closed. Right? जो पहले बीच में ब्रैकेट्स बोले थे वो 1765-83 वाले ब्रैकेट्स थे, राइट. सो देयरफॉर जो ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगाया था हमने वो यहाँ पे फाइनली खत्म हो रहा है, राइट. सो देयरफॉर in the 13 colonies in North America also there were these non-state actors, right, that is the British settlers who had started living there, and they gradually made America their home, and they had also revolted against the home state, that is Britain. So what if East India Company says that now I am the ruler of India and I do not need you, okay, tata, bye bye, I also want independence. I also want independence, right? This is the kind of thing. और ये बार बार होगा. Zimbabwe, after your World War II, Zimbabwe around the time period of 1960s, yeah, 1960s, it also declared independence. The British settlers, the white settlers of Zimbabwe, they declared independence from Britain. Similarly, South Africa in 1960s, the white settlers, they declared independence from Britain. तो ये natural phenomenon है. You migrate from your home state to another territory, gradually start feeling that this is your home, and gradually you want to have independence. Right? So therefore, a non-state actor becoming powerful militarily, politically, it is threatening to the East India Company. Right? So context वो भी चल रहा है कि अमेरिका में क्या हो रहा है. Right? Full stop. Next point. Also, state wanted share. Also, state wanted share in EIC profits. Also, state wanted share in EIC profits. Therefore, in 1767. Also, state wanted share in EIC profits. Therefore, in 1767, Parliament mandated EIC. Therefore, in 1767, Parliament mandated EIC. Parliament mandated EIC to annually pay 400,000 pounds. To annually pay 400,000 pounds to public exchequer. 400,000 pounds to public exchequer. 400,000 pounds to public exchequer. That means the government kitty. Public exchequer माने the bank account of the government. Right? Public exchequer means the bank account of the government. अगर किसी को नहीं पता है तो आप ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा ले सकते हैं. Taxes go to bank account of government. Taxes go to bank account of government. That is public exchequer. Taxes go to bank account of government. That is so basically public exchequer means जो भी हम पैसा देते हैं, जो भी सरकार का बैंक अकाउंट है, सेविंग्स बैंक अकाउंट है, उसको पब्लिक एक्सचेकर कहा जाता है, स्टेट एक्सचेकर कहा जाता है, पब्लिक एक्सचेकर कहा जाता है. राइट. सो देयरफॉर दैट इज द थिंग. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट. Great Bengal famine 1770. Great Bengal famine 1770. ये अगला रीजन है, ये तीसरा रीजन हो गया कि भाई क्यों रेगुलेट कर रहे हैं बाय 1770s. एक हमने जनरल बता दिया कि देयर वाज इकोनॉमिक राइज एंड पॉलिटिकल राइज विच थ्रेटन दी स्टेट. सेकेंड हमने बता दिया रीजन कि भाई स्टेट इसलिए भी रेगुलेट करना चाह रहा था बिकॉज इट वांटेड शेयर ऑफ द प्रॉफिट्स. So therefore ये कहना that you will pay 400,000 pounds per annum, it is a form of giving order to the company. It is form of economic regulation of the company. Right? थर्ड रीजन क्या है कि भाई फेमीन हुआ तो उससे बदनामी हुई तो उन्होंने कहा भी ये गलत काम कर रहे हैं, इनको कंट्रोल करो. तो वही पॉइंट लिख रहे हैं हम. राइट डाउन. ग्रेट बंगाल फेमीन ऑफ 1770 hurt image of Britain. Great Bengal famine of 1770 hurt image of Britain. Hurt image of Britain. and EIC's conduct went against idea of WM burden, white man's burden, went against idea of white man's burden. Why is it going against the idea of white man's burden? भाई आपकी देख रेख में 1 crore Indians are dying. What kind of person are you? You are मतलब our overall idea is that with our presence the world should benefit. We should civilize the rest of the world. And what is this happening? ऐसा बिहेव करना चाहिए कि imperial power को शर्म नहीं आती तुमको? This is how an imperial power should behave, right? So therefore that kind of scenario. Plus Britain का नाम तुमने मिट्टी में मिला दिया. 1 crore Indians have died. कहाँ मुंह दिखाएंगे हम? Right? So therefore this kind of scenario it is there, right? White man's burden and against अगला phrase लिख के you will be like okay, and against morality of imperialism. See, the simple point is, चाहे हम कुछ भी कर रहे हो, we are always right in our eyes and we always justify our behavior. ठीक? Even if you have smashed someone's face this morning, ठीक है, कहीं लड़ाई वड़ाई हुई तुम्हारे रूममेट के साथ, तुम पेल पेल के आ गए उसको, ठीक? Even if you have smashed someone's face, if I ask you, you still will have justification. Sir, बहुत irritate कर रहा था. So since many days he was irritating me. Sir, he used to make fun of me. पेल दिया सर मैंने. Today I could not resist. Still your justification. So when they are doing imperialism, when they are colonizing us, when they are looting the colonies, still in their minds, especially because the British state, it is a democracy. So therefore they have to justify that we are good people, we are not bad people. We are a good state, we are not a bad state. We are a good imperial power, not a bad imperial power. And therefore, because of our presence in India, Indians are benefiting. That was their narrative. If you watch on Amazon Prime the movie Udham Singh, so there when he is just about to be assassinated, O'Dwyer, he is basically saying, my friends, someone asked him, should we exit India now? He says, my friends, white man burden is as much there in India as it is in Africa. माने कि अभी हमारा काम वहाँ पूरा नहीं हुआ है. Africa is very underdeveloped. We have to civilize it. India has benefited from us, but still there is a lot of work to do, my friends. So therefore, right now we should not leave India. They need us, right? Indians are saying, you know, that get lost. Indians are doing 1857 revolt. Indians are doing Indian national movement. Indians are doing revolutionary activity, right? Revolutionary activity in Bengal, 1908-11. Revolutionary activity by, you know, Gadarites, 1913-15. Revolutionary activity by Bhagat Singh, 1920s. Chandrasekhar Azad, Ram Prasad Bismil, Ashfaqullah Khan, right? Indians are doing all of these things, right? 1930-34, Chittagong armory raid, right, by a Surya Sen, a teacher. Teacher बड़े खतरनाक होते हैं, समझ करना चाहिए. Surya Sen, a teacher, right? He is doing this revolutionary activity, right? Coordinating with Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, right? So therefore, Indians are like, निकल यहाँ से. Indians want the Britishers to go, and the Britishers are like, नहीं. I need to civilize you. तू समझ नहीं रहा है. You are naive. मैं तुझे सिविलाइज करके छोड़ूंगा, ठीक है? क्यों? मेरे ऊपर बर्डन है. आई हैव अ बर्डन ऑन माई चेस्ट कॉल्ड व्हाइट मैन्स बर्डन. आई हैव टू अनलोड दैट बर्डन. मैं तुझे सिविलाइज करके भाई तू जा ना यहां से. नहीं, मैं तुझे सिविलाइज करके छोड़ूंगा, राइट? दैट इज ए नैरेटिव, right? That is how they are trying to justify. That is why some of the people among you also wonder, sir, did India benefit from the British rule? Look at their narrative, na? Sir, they brought railways, sir, they brought canals, sir, they brought this, sir, did India benefit? है ना? So that is the power of their narrative, that even the 21st century people, they are thinking that, sir, उनका फायदा तो वैसे कुछ हुआ, है ना? This is a colonial mentality. This is colonial mentality, and this is the level of their narrative, right? This kind of scenario, right? So that is what is there. It was basically sweet poison. For example, if I am giving you slow poison, but at the same time I make that poison very, very tasty, right? Poison in a cheese burst pizza, right? Sir, tasty to tha par. You will say, sir, tasty to tha. Right, this is the thing. So therefore, yes, they are doing some things, but even that intent, even the reason for bringing those positives was their benefit. Any benefit that happened to Indians was a byproduct of that, and not a primary reason for that. And not a primary reason for that. Right. So therefore, this kind of scenario it is there. So we'll come to that. Right. So morality of imperialism का meaning ये है. This is the meaning of morality of imperialism. Right, self justification. So bracket में star लगा के you can mention self justification. Self justification. Self justification, brackets closed. Right, therefore EIC came under criticism. Therefore EIC came under criticism. Therefore EIC came under criticism in Britain. Next point, also huge corruption by EIC officials. Next point, also huge corruption by EIC officials who returned super rich. Who returned super rich. Also huge corruption by EIC officials who returned super rich from India. Who returned super rich from India. In brackets, illegal private trade. In brackets, illegal private trade, brackets closed, again brackets, were called nabobs, were called nabobs in negative way, were called nabobs in negative way. Right. So the word nawab became nabob. It entered the English dictionary also. So Robert Clive, when he is returning filthy rich, Robert Clive became the richest man of Europe in 1765. Right, so I told you this story, right? He became the richest man of Europe in 1765. Why? Because he knew that Treaty of Allahabad is going to be signed. So he asked his manager to purchase huge number of shares of East India Company. He sold everything that he had and he purchased the shares of the East India Company. Then the Treaty of Allahabad 1765 became public and the stock market prices of EIC shares, they skyrocketed, and therefore this is how he became the richest man of Europe. So this is nothing but insider trading, right? Also loot of India from 1757. So therefore these people are returning filthy rich from India, right? And basically सब लोग जलते हैं. Everyone is jealous, no, of each other. Everyone is jealous of each other, right? So therefore that kind of scenario, they are being called nabobs, right? So therefore corruption is also looked down upon, right? So therefore that is the thing. That is also another reason that we should do something. So much of corruption is happening there. Pressure will be there. Next point. Plus in 1770, EIC requested 10 million pounds. Plus in 1770, EIC requested 10 million pounds of loan. 10 million pounds of loan from state. 10 million pounds of loan from state as it was going bankrupt. 10 million pounds of loan from state as it was going bankrupt. As it was going bankrupt. So therefore this also raised eyes. Here you people are returning as nabobs, very very filthy rich, and your company is going bankrupt. चल क्या रहा है? What is happening? Right? So therefore, and this also acted as an opportunity. ये बाया ऊंट पहाड़ के नीचे. Now we will be able to tighten the screw on them. Right? So therefore these are the reasons because of which by 1770s we can say that the British state came to regulate the affairs of the East India Company in India. Right? So next independent paragraph point. So therefore these are the reasons which are done. So right now मतलब एक और point है actually, एक और छोटा सा point है, एक और आप लिख लीजिए. Important men like Clive and Warren Hastings. Important men like Clive and Warren Hastings. Important men like Clive and Warren Hastings wanted. Important men like Clive and Warren Hastings wanted formal relationship, wanted formal relationship with the state, wanted formal relationship with the state, wanted formal relationship with the state to increase their own status, wanted formal relationship with the state to increase their own status, Example, I am a CEO of a big company. But now, big bank लिख लो, big bank. But now, RBI recognizes me. RBI recognizes me as systemically important bank. Therefore, I get a seat on table. I get a seat on table when RBI plans monetary policy. RBI plans monetary policy, right? So therefore, this is the meaning, right? So write down. So for example, if you are a CEO of a big bank, right? So obviously, you are a very rich person, you are a very important person. But what is lacking? आपकी सरकारी नौकरी लगे. Still, they are jealous of IAS officers, right? You have a lot of money, but still you are jealous of the IAS officers because the IAS officers, they are still making policies, right? Money cannot buy everything, right? So therefore, if there is a formal relationship, let's say the Reserve Bank of India recognizes your bank, let's say HDFC Bank or ICICI Bank, as systemically important bank. That is a bank which is of paramount importance with respect to the economy of India, and therefore it gives you an option, it gives you a privilege that now you can enter the North Block and or you can enter the Mumbai headquarters of the Reserve Bank of India. And whenever the RBI is going to discuss monetary policy or make monetary policy, it will take your feedback. So therefore, now as a CEO, you will feel that paisa to sabke paas hai, but this additional thing I have, my status is increasing, right? So therefore, this is the meaning of this particular statement. I hope whatever you wrote down in the bracket में star लगा के, it made that clear that here paisa है, but now you are getting a seat on the table of policy making. आपका status बढ़ रहा है. So therefore, these big people of the company, they also wanted कि यार by simply being the Governor General or simply being the Governor of Bengal, Madras, Bombay, मजा नहीं आ रहा, कुछ और चाहिए. That is right now we're simply regional managers of a company, right? If we are called, if we are given some legal relationship with the state, right? प्रधानमंत्री का हमारे को चिट्ठी आए, what is happening in India, तब आएगा मजा. ये क्या कोर्ट ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स ऑफ ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी क्या चिट्ठी लिखते रहते हैं, है प्रधानमंत्री का चिट्ठी आए हमको, है हमको बुलाए क्या हो रहा है इंडिया में, ठीक है, तब आएगा मजा, है ना, स्टेटस इंक्रीज होगा. So that was also a reason, right? Now write down next point. Request for loan acted as an opportunity. Request for loan acted as an opportunity for British state. Opportunity for British state to bring EIC under regulation. Right? So therefore that is there. So now write down the next heading. Select committee of Parliament. Parliament माने British Parliament. Select Committee of Parliament 1772. Select Committee of Parliament 1772. Select Committee of Parliament 1772. First point, purpose is equal to Select Committee of Parliament 1772. सबसे पहले ने कमेटी बनाई, ठीक है, और कंपनी बना के बेसिकली इस कंपनी का काम, कमिटी का काम यही था. द वर्क ऑफ द कमिटी वाज टू आइडेंटिफाई दैट व्हाट कैन बी रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन द ब्रिटिश स्टेट एंड दिस कंपनी. क्या किया जाए, कैसे रेगुलेट किया जाए, क्या कर सकते हैं, राइट, इस प्रकार से, राइट. प्लस 1770 बंगाल फेमिन हैड टेकन प्लेस. So therefore, the court of directors of the East India Company, that is the headquarters of the East India Company in London, उनको बुलाया गया भाई, हाँ, you tell us why this this thing is taking place, the Great Bengal Famine, why this why corruption is taking place in India, right? Why this huge war expenditure is taking place in India? क्या क्या चक्कर है भाई? Why? हम ही क्यों होता? So पूछो, India is so far away. It requires 6 months, 10 months to reach India. कोई ऐसा मोबाइल तो है नहीं कि टेस्ला ने एयरटेल ने सैटेलाइट इंटरनेट लॉन्च कर रखा है जिससे फोन हो जाएगा, ठीक है। स्टीम इंजन भी नहीं है अभी तो। इंडस्ट्रियल रेवोल्यूशन विल टेक प्लेस फ्रॉम 1750 ऑनवर्ड्स, राइट। मुझे क्या पता, वो हमसे उसको पकड़ो, उसको रॉबर्ट क्लाइव को, ही इज द पर्सन हु इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल, राइट। ये वॉरेन हेस्टिंग्स को पकड़ो, दे आर द पीपल हु आर रिस्पॉन्सिबल, दे आर द मेन डिसीजन मेकर्स ऑन द ग्राउंड इन इंडिया, राइट। सो दे नो, हमें कुछ नहीं पता, राइट। सो ब्रिटिश पार्लियामेंट इज लाइक, यार ये क्या चक्कर है, द कंपनी हेडक्वार्टर, ये तो इट इज शर्किंग रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, इट इज सेइंग कि हमें कुछ नहीं पता, दैट दे आर नॉट रिस्पॉन्सिबल। ऐसा थोड़ी होता है भाई, हमें तो कोई, वी नीड सम अकाउंटेबिलिटी ना। अब क्या हम, इफ द ब्रिटिश पार्लियामेंट वांट्स टू रेगुलेट द कंपनी अफेयर्स इन इंडिया, के वो फिर हर महीने इंडिया जाए? तुम्हारा काम क्या है? यू आर द हेडक्वार्टर्स ऑफ द कंपनी। नहीं, दिस थिंग इज रॉन्ग। यू शुड नॉट बी एबल टू से कि तुम्हें क्या पता। नहीं, सम अकाउंटेबिलिटी नीड्स टू बी देयर, right? Something needs to be done so that this particular person who is governor in India, governor of Bombay, governor of Madras, governor of Bengal, he is reporting to you in every way and you are reporting to me in some way, right? You cannot say कि मुझे क्या पता, उससे पूछो। तो क्या आप इंडिया जाओ पूछने के लिए? ये काम रहेगा मेरे पास, right? So therefore नहीं, ये चक्कर नहीं, right? So therefore this was the purpose. So write down, purpose is equal to look into state of EIC affairs in India. To look into state of EIC affairs in India, मतलब पहले तो ये पता लगाना भी इंडिया में चल क्या रहा है। To look into state of EIC affairs in India, that is to simply know what is happening in India. To look into state of EIC affairs in India, है ना भाई, डिटेल में जाके रिसर्च तो करें, इन्वेस्टिगेशन तो करें, प्लस what can be relationship, प्लस what can be relationship, माने टू आइडेंटिफाई व्हाट कैन बी रिलेशनशिप, है ना, वो तो अंडरस्टूड है। व्हाट कैन बी रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन ब्रिटिश स्टेट एंड ईआईसी, व्हाट कैन बी रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन ब्रिटिश स्टेट एंड ईआईसी regarding territory acquired by EIC, regarding territory acquired by EIC in India, regarding territory acquired by EIC in India, regarding territory acquired by EIC in India, that is public affairs, that is public affairs of EIC, that is public affairs of EIC, that is public affairs of EIC। ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के लिखिए, EIC had multiple affairs, ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा लिखिए, EIC had multiple affairs, EIC had multiple affairs, dash commercial affairs, dash commercial affairs, where it acted as a company, dash commercial affairs, where it acted as a company, and public affairs, where it acted as a state, and public affairs where it acted as a state, that is a ruler, state that is a ruler, semicolon plus, because capitalism, therefore government wanted to regulate, government माने पार्लियामेंट माने स्टेट, मतलब इन जनरल हम कह सकते हैं स्टेट wanted to regulate, लो state wanted to regulate, because capitalism, therefore state wanted to regulate only public affairs, brackets close। समझ रहे हैं? If there is capitalism, the state has no business, मतलब as a tradition, as a custom, state has no business in interfering in any company's private affairs, because it will go against freedom of enterprise, it will go against the spirit of capitalism, right? It will go against the idea of security of property, right? But हमारी problem क्या है? हमारी प्रॉब्लम ये है दैट यू आर नॉट एक्टिंग ओनली एज अ कंपनी, यू आर ऑल्सो एक्टिंग एज अ गवर्नमेंट, यू आर ऑल्सो एक्टिंग एज अ गवर्नमेंट, right? And therefore there we want to see you, look at you. So therefore East India Company had two affairs, right? Private and public. एक सारी दुनिया को पता था और एक प्राइवेट था, ठीक? Private affairs are commercial affairs, public affairs are governance, where it is acting as a ruler, right? Where it is acting. So that's why the state is only interested in the non-commercial affairs, that is the public affairs, right? That is the diwani, nizamat, not other things, right? So वहां पे वो interested है, तो ये बहुत important है जानना, ठीक है? Anyways, right? Plus मतलब brackets close हो गया, plus how EIC's headquarters, plus how EIC's headquarters in London, plus how EIC's headquarters in London, that is how EIC's headquarters in London, that is COD of EIC, that is COD of EIC in brackets court of directors, जैसे आज के टाइम बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स होता है वहां पे कोर्ट ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स, सो COD इट इज ऑफ EIC, court of directors, that is directors of the company, right? How EIC's headquarters in London, that is COD of EIC can best control EIC's administration in India, can best control EIC's administration in India, EIC's administration in India. That is how COD of EIC, that is how COD of EIC can control men like Clive. How EIC COD can control men like Clive. When they are saying EIC's administration in India, who is handling the EIC administration in India? It is people like Clive, people like Warren Hastings, governors of Bengal, कि इन लोगों को कैसे काबू में रखा जाए, right? So therefore that is the point. Result is equal to, result क्या है इस कमिटी का? Result is equal to EIC was allowed to continue its monopoly. Result is equal to EIC was allowed to continue its monopoly. EIC was allowed to continue its monopoly over trade with India. EIC was allowed to continue its monopoly over trade with India. However, COD of EIC was now to be accountable. However, COD of EIC was now to be accountable. Was now to be accountable for EIC's administration in India. COD of EIC was now to be accountable. Was now to be accountable for EIC's administration in India. Was now to be accountable for EIC's administration in India. माने कि you cannot say हमें क्या पता, you are responsible, ठीक है? You cannot say. अब वो कैसे होगा उसके लिए proper regulating act आएगा, right? Plus it also led to regulating act of 1773. Plus it also led to regulating act of 1773. Plus it also led to regulating act of 1773. Next heading, regulating act 1773, also known as, aka is also known as Lord North's Act, right? So he was the Pradhan Mantri उस time पे. It is named after Prime Minister, right? Lord North is the name of the Pradhan Mantri, so that is why it is also called Lord North's Act. Lord North's Act. आप कह सकते हो सर नॉर्थ टू डायरेक्शन होता है, तो क्या करूं? ऐसे नाम होते हैं इनके. चार्ल्स वुड, सरनेम इज लकड़ी. अजीब बात, हम क्या करें, ऐसे ही नाम होते हैं उनके, लॉर्ड नॉर्थ, लॉर्ड वेस्ट, लॉर्ड साउथ, लॉर्ड ईस्ट, हम क्या करें? ये ज्यादा दिमाग वाले लोग नहीं है, ये ऐसे रख देते नाम। कंपनी फॉर्म फॉर द ईस्ट, ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी, ज्यादा दिमाग नहीं लगाते। ऐसी वो आजकल वो है ना I2U2, ज्यादा दिमाग नहीं लगाते। I2U2, मी टू, ऐसे, राइट। लॉर्ड नॉर्थ एक्ट, राइट, प्रधानमंत्री है उसके ऊपर। वो पिट्स इंडिया एक्ट में भी विलियम पिट्स था, वही प्रधानमंत्री था, ही वाज आल्सो प्राइम मिनिस्टर, राइट। तो पिट्स इंडिया एक्ट है ना। सो बेसिकली अब इसमें व्हाट वी आर गोइंग टू डू इज वी आर गोइंग टू मेक अ स्ट्रक्चर, ठीक है। एंड this is also an exercise for those who have, for example, the management as a optional or public administration as a optional, and it is more of an exercise for those who do not have these options, so that they are able to understand something about organization. Those who have psychology as an optional, so organizational psychology, it is also part. So basically we approach it in a very different manner, right? We are not going to simply make you write down what are the features of the Regulating Act of 1773. We are going to try to understand the rationale behind it. And what is the rationale? Rationale is simple. Rationale is simple. Rationale is what? What is the purpose? As a student, we should think that what is the purpose of Regulating Act 1773? The British Parliament or the British state, it simply wants that someone should be responsible, someone should be accountable for what is. Plus, we have given them 10 million pounds of loan. तो जवाबदेही किसी की है, right? So they want to establish जवाबदेही. They want to establish accountability of someone. Right, and there are two territories which are there, right? One territory it is here Britain, right, and another territory here it is your India. Now what is the funda of accountability? फालतू की चीजें पढ़ते रहते हो आप यूपीएससी में, right? For example, मतलब in my perspective जो governance है, topic of governance, it should not be read. तो एक ही पेज का ही काम है. Topic of whole governance, it is only a one page. कुछ है नहीं गवर्नेंस वगैरह, फालतू की बातें, स्टूपिड स्टफ, प्योरली इंग्लिश, प्योरली इंग्लिश, देयर इज नथिंग एल्स, प्योरली इंग्लिश। गुड गवर्नेंस क्या है, फालतू फालतू बातें सट्टाते रहो, ना आपको पता आप क्या रट रहे हो, ना पढ़ाने वाले को पता कि वो क्या पढ़ा रहा है, ठीक है, फालतू की बातें सट्टाते रहो। पढ़ाने वाले को तो पता है, तो वैसे मतलब गवर्नेंस आसपास हम देखते नहीं, आसपास हम देखते नहीं, we do not see around each other, right? So for example, when we were in school, we had a class monitor, right? Why there was a class monitor? कभी सोचा है भाई है ही क्यों है आदमी? Why he exists or why she exists? So that she or he they can satisfy their personal ego. Why they are there, right? फिर we had a Hindi teacher, we had a SST teacher, we had a math teacher. What is this class teacher? And why there is a class teacher? Hey? Then there was someone called in charge ma'am. In charge ma'am was responsible for the floor. That on that floor, if there are 20 classes or 20 classrooms, तो she is the in charge ma'am of that particular corridor. या फिर पूरे 8th की एक in charge ma'am होगी, पूरे 9th की एक in charge ma'am होगी, in charge ma'am. क्यों है भाई? Then there is something called school principal. If there is a chairman, why there is a requirement of school principal? And what is the meaning of this, principal? Principal is someone who is important. PLE वाला नहीं, PAL वाला, है ना? Many of us we thought till now, trust me, सच्चे सच्चे बताना, till now we thought that the spelling of school principal is PLE. नहीं, कोई भी नहीं था ऐसा. Anyone? You? Very good. You are going to clear UPSC. And those who did not raise their hand, and for them also it was PLE, chances are very low. Right? Anyways, जिसने की शर्म उसकी फुटे करम. Right? ऐसा मतलब फक्र के साथ बोलना चाहिए, I do not know. Right? Only then you will be on the learning curve. Right? तो मेरी तो खुद यूपीएससी में आके कंफ्यूजन क्लियर हुई ना. Even for me, I did not know there is something called PAL. मुझे तो लगता था ये तो कोई कैसे स्पेलिंग मिस्टेक कर रहा हुआ है. ना वो प्रिंसिपल मैम के रूम के बाहर लिखा तो PL, मैंने तो स्पेलिंग मिस्टेक, इट शुड बी PLE, वो तो यूपीएससी आंख पता चला, इट शुड बी PL, राइट. प्रिंसिपल मीन्स समवन हु इज नंबर वन अथॉरिटी, who is important, number one authority, in charge, right? She has some authority. So basically what happens is that whenever the school chairman, whenever he wants to make someone accountable, they make one person principal. Whenever the principal wants to have accountability, they bring 3 to 4 in charge ma'ams, right? Each in charge ma'am, when they want to hold someone accountable for the other aspects of a class, not just teaching of history, not just teaching of SST, but let's say there is some medical problem with the child, or let's say there is some other problem with the child. इसका अफेयर हो गया, इसके माँ बाप को जवाब देना है हमें, ठीक है, कि लड़का भाग जाएगा घर से, कुछ करना पड़ेगा, तो who is responsible? Who is responsible? So therefore there needs to be a class teacher. There needs to be class teacher. फिर separation of power होती थी, the work of physical punishment is specially allocated to PT teacher. ठीक है, class teacher will tell this ये लड़का बिगड़ रहा है, ठीक है, PT teacher आ जाएगा. हाँ, पीटी टीचर का काम ही पीटना है. मुझे नहीं पता था पीटी का मतलब पीटना, ठीक है, मतलब पीटी टीचर इज ओनली देयर टू बीट पीपल, राइट. हाँ, राइट. तो देयरफॉर दैट काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो, पीटी टीचर वो कैप लगा घूमता रहता था हमारे यहाँ, ठीक है, दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो. बड़े थप्पड़ खाए मैंने पीटी टीचर से. एनीवेज, तो ऐसा मतलब, तो एनीवेज सेपरेशन ऑफ पावर इज आल्सो देयर, राइट. मिलिट्री पावर विद पीटी टीचर एंड administrative power with class teacher, right? So that is your class teacher. So basic, and then class monitor, class teacher, when she wants to have control, over the class, what does she do? She also appoints one person as class monitor, right? So therefore you see, that is why CEOs are appointed, and within each factory there has to be a factory manager, right? Within each factory there needs to be a factory manager. Why? जब भी आपको कुछ, whenever you want any kind of control over multiple people, a country needs a prime minister, a state needs a chief minister. क्यों? Because you want accountability on one person. भाई अगर कुछ भी गलत होता है या whatever happens, you are the person who is in charge. That is the way things get controlled, right? But at the same time, let's say हमारे यहाँ तो क्लास मॉनिटर होता था, तो मैडम क्लास से चली जाती थी, मैम यूज्ड टू गो आउटसाइड द क्लास. आफ्टर दैट वी यूज्ड टू डू हुल्ला गल्ला, वी यूज्ड टू, right? Class monitor used to come to us. Hey, खत्री, sit down. मैंने कहा भाई लाफा बढ़ेगा एक, sit down, class monitor, right? बहुत देखे थे जैसे, right? हमने नहीं कभी करी इज्जत क्लास मॉनिटर की, ठीक है, हम बैक बेंचर, ठीक है, बैक बेंचर, ठीक है. So this kind of scenario. अब now इससे हमें क्या पता चलता है? Till the point of time there is a person who is accountable. If he does not have power, then he cannot fulfill his responsibility. If the class teacher had given the class monitor the power that you can cut 5 marks in the next test of every child who is not accepting your orders, right? Then, you know, he would have power. Then he would have power over other students, not over me. I'll prefer to go fail. Minus 90 marks, no issues, right? Everyone has different personality, right? So therefore this kind of scenario. So then when he has that power that he can cut 5 marks, then so therefore that is why nowadays usually, for example, in governance or anything, we always talk about accountability, we always talk about responsibility. Why? Because we assume that power is automatically there, right? But this is a reverse case. Not just accountability is important, power is also important to fulfill that accountability. Power is important to fulfill that accountability. We have seen that case in the case of annexation of Awadh on grounds of maladministration. He had accountability. That's why he was blamed for maladministration. Blame to usi ke paas jata hai, the person who is responsible. But he does not have any power. Why? Because the British resident had established indirect rule in Awadh by 1855. He was holding his own informal darbar. That's why you see, that's why we wrote down that he had no powers but all responsibility, right? So therefore, while you are trying to establish some kind of control, right, you need to identify one person, and in that person you need to vest powers plus also responsibilities. And therefore this is the purpose of Regulating Act of 1773, that how with respect to East India Company in London, we should have some person who is having power plus responsibility, and when we go to India, then let us have a person who is also having powers and responsibility. And this is how we are going to create a structure through which we are going to regulate the East India Company, right? So in the case of Britain, obviously there is Court of Directors, COD of EIC, right? This COD of EIC would have to pass on all information, which it receives from India on CMR matters. CMR matters, this is nothing but Diwani plus Nijamat. Civil, military and revenue matters. Civil, military and revenue matters. Not commercial matters, civil, military and revenue matters. These are the public affairs. That is public affairs of East India Company. That is Diwani plus Nijamat. अगर Indian word use करना है तो what is CMR? Diwani is revenue and C, M is nothing but Nijamat. As simple as that. ये चीजें बुक्स नहीं पढ़ाती है. दिस इज द यूटिलिटी ऑफ यू ज्वाइनिंग कोचिंग, राइट? ये चीजें नहीं बताती. या फिर खुद से सोच लो, मैं तो खुद से सोची, तो ऐसा भी कुछ नहीं है कि आप खुद से नहीं सोच सकते, खुद से सोचो, सोचना चाहिए, वो ज्यादा बेटर है, वो तो बेस्ट है. दैट थिंग यू विल नेवर फॉरगेट, वॉट एवर थिंग ऑन योर ओन, राइट? सो दिस इज नथिंग बट दीवानी प्लस निजामत. दीवानी प्लस निजामत. सो देयरफॉर सिविल, मिलिट्री, रेवेन्यू मैटर्स, राइट? मिलिट्री माने एनडीए मिलिट्री, सिविल माने जो भी आप पढ़ रहे हो. हाँ, रेवेन्यू सर्विसेज को अलग निकाल दिया, राइट? सो देयरफॉर आईएएस, आईपीएस, आईआरएस अलग निकाल दिया, ठीक है? उसके बाद आईएफएस, राइट? आईएएस, राइट? जितनी भी सारी सर्विसेज हैं वो कुछ नहीं सिविल में कवर हो जाती हैं. आईआरएस रेवेन्यू कवर हो जाता है, मिलिट्री सेपरेट है. दिस इज नथिंग बट दीवानी प्लस निजामत. यही तो है, और क्या है, राइट? सो बेसिकली एनी इंफॉर्मेशन दैट यू रिसीव फ्रॉम इंडिया ऑन सिविल, मिलिट्री एंड रेवेन्यू मैटर्स यू वुड हैव टू शेयर. You have to share with the British Parliament, or you have to share with the British state. And here the state includes Parliament plus executive, right? And therefore this is how the British Parliament can regulate. This is how the British Parliament can know what is happening in India. So therefore they are opening their ears. And in any special session of the Parliament or in any parliamentary session, the Parliament can give some direction. It can decide what to do if you have to do something, right? So this is how we have identified a class monitor in the case of Britain. But there needs to be this is like a class teacher. There needs to be a class monitor also on the ground. There needs to be a class monitor also on the ground. अब किसको बनाए class monitor? Why we are doing this CMR? Because of public affairs. Now you tell me, in the year 1773, which of the regional manager of the company, which of the 3 CEOs of the company, 3 CEO थे ना company के, governor of Madras, governor of Bombay, governor of Bengal, which among these 3 is having the job? Which among these 3 is having the job of CMR? Only Bengal. And that is how we get to know the answer. ये सब question आते हैं mind में. Otherwise we are doing rote learning. Sir, why only Bengal was chosen as the Governor General? Why Governor of Bengal was made Governor General of Bengal? Why not Governor of Bombay was made Governor General? अरे भैया लॉजिक क्या है? लॉजिक सिंपली जो किताबें नहीं बताएंगी. People like Bipin Chandra, they assume, right? Or they want to keep it a private knowledge, right? Only among the elite sections of the academia. आम जनता को नहीं बताएंगे. Logic देखिए, that if your purpose is to tackle the East India Company where it is behaving like a state, and then you see the wars which have taken place. So by the time period of 1773, apart from the Northern Sarkars which it has got in 1766, right? Somehow they give low importance to Northern Sarkars. It is majorly Bengal where they have become ruler after 1765 and actually started ruling from 1772. Otherwise, the next batch of territory they take over after the Third Anglo-Mysore War, 1789-92. Maharashtra territory, Samrajya territory, they take over in the Second Anglo-Maratha War, 1803-05. So in the year 1773, if your purpose is to regulate public affairs, it is only the regional manager of Bengal who is having this dual responsibility of managing A, the commercial affairs of the company, and B, the public affairs of the company. Governor of Bombay and Governor of Madras, as such, they do not have any public affairs right now with them. They will also get public affairs, but for that future annexations have to take place. Also, Bengal was the richest province and 60% of the trade it took place from Bengal. So any which way, the governor of Bengal was also like one of the senior person. If the Treaty of Allahabad has been signed, it is in context of Bengal only. If Battle of Plassey has taken place, it is in context of Bengal only. So that's why you will make governor of Bengal the class monitor. That's why you will make governor of Bengal the class monitor. And that's why he is converted into what you call as Governor General of Bengal. Governor General of Bengal, right? So that he does not become a dictator, so that he does not become extra powerful. He was put in a council. He was put in a council of 4. That is, Governor General of Bengal will be there, and below him 4 people will be present. And all decisions would have to be taken by majority, so that the Governor General of Bengal, the class monitor. So imagine instead of a class monitor, there is going to be a class monitor, but he'll be assisted by 3 or 4 sub monitors, so that he randomly does not start cutting marks of Mr. Khatri. Some other 4 people are also there, who Mr. Khatri can give samosa during the lunch break, and they can tell the class teacher, no, sir, no, ma'am, 5 marks they should not be cut. Mr. Khatri is a good person, right? So therefore, decision by majority is going to be there, so that the class monitor does not become extra powerful, this kind of scenario. And this GG Bengal, right, he will collect information from Governor of Bombay and from Governor of Madras, right? They will send information, right? They will send all information, not just CMR matters, but CMR plus commercial matters. All information will be sent, and these people, they will send all information to COD. All information mane commercial matters and CMR matters. They will send all of this information to COD of EIC from India. COD of EIC will not share the commercial information, it will only share the CMR matters information. And this is how the British state has finally created a structure which starts from India and ends in London. And this is how the British Parliament on regular basis can know what is happening in India, right? This is what is there. Also, because huge amount of expenditure had taken place, company had gone bankrupt with respect to matters of war and peace. So therefore, this GG Bengal can give orders to governors of Bombay and Madras in matters of war and peace, plus subordinated in matters of war and peace. In matters of war and peace. Obviously, except in emergency. That is why Treaty of Surat was signed by Governor of Bombay in 1775, because he said ki bhai, this is emergency and I do not have time to take orders from Bengal, right? I need to sign the Treaty of Surat, right? That's why Treaty of Purandar, right? And finally, the first Anglo-Maratha War, 1775-82 was happening, right? So therefore, this is how the structure it is created. This is how the structure it is created, right? So therefore, this is the soul of the Regulating Act of 1773. अगर आपको purpose पता है, that purpose is that the British state, it wants information from India in a proper manner. So therefore, for that, आप किसको पकड़ेंगे? लंदन में सीधा चिट्ठी भेजो to the Court of Directors of the East India Company. हाँ भाई, what is happening? Court of Directors of the East India Company, it should regularly get all information, right? 4 पैकेट्स आएंगे, एक C का, एक M का, एक R का और एक कॉमर्स का, right? So 4 packets of information will be coming from Governor General of Bengal, right? He will collect information from here, plus he can give orders to Governor of Bombay and Madras in matters of war and peace. This is what is being done. So therefore, please make this. So this is a flowchart way of doing Regulating Act of 1773. This is a flowchart way of doing Regulating Act of 1773. British Parliament is passing it. Through which act? Through which act these people are being made governors of different presidencies? Again, you are forgetting, my friend. It is a very important question that you asked, जो ज्ञान चक्षु खोलेंगे बाकी students के भी. The student is asking that through which act these people are made governors of these presidencies. There is a blockage in your mind, right? And that blockage is that you are thinking that the word government, governor, whenever any word governor is there, whenever any word governance is there, it is always related to the state. This is a mental blockage. किसने कहा that the Amazon company cannot call its CEO governor? Who has said that Amazon company cannot call its CEO Governor General of Amazon? भाई who is a governor, who is in charge of governance, and governance जरूरी थोड़ी है that it is only of public affairs. Governance is also of the private affairs. A father who is the, let's say, head of the family, and mother, right, mother and father, they are governing the affairs of the household. Mother and father, they are governing the affairs of the household. So therefore the word governor does not require any law. You are a company and simply you want 3 regional managers. आप उनको regional manager कहना चाहते हो, fine. You want to call them regional CEOs, fine. You want to call them governor, fine. For that, what act is required? It is private matter of a company. Simply they have 3 areas of operation, that is Bengal, Madras and Bombay, and the person who is in charge of these operations, they are simply calling them governor. As simple as that. Why any act is required? No act is required. Right? But yes, regulating act definitely recognizes the governor of Bengal as Governor General of Bengal. Right? The charter of the company, the founding document, that will be mentioning that the structure. अगर आपको act भी सोचना है उस प्रकार से, तो आप कह सकते हैं भी उस प्रकार से कह सकते हैं. Right? For example, the court of debtors was headed by what you call as a deputy governor or something like this, कुछ इस प्रकार से. Right? So made this. नहीं, तभी तो माइनस किया है यहाँ पे. सिर्फ कॉमर्स है और सीएमआर है, एंड यहाँ पे सिर्फ सीएमआर है. क्यों नहीं बता रहा? क्यों इसलिए नहीं बता रहा क्योंकि अभी हम पिछली देर इतनी सारी यही बात करी है, कैपिटलिज्म के अंदर जो गवर्नमेंट है वो किसी भी कंपनी के प्राइवेट अफेयर्स में ताक झांक नहीं करती जब तक उसने कोई कानून ना तोड़ा हो. स्टेट का कोई मतलब नहीं है कि कंपनी कैसे पैसा कमा रही है बिजनेस करके. स्टेट अपने एक्शन को जस्टिफाई कर रहा है कि हम एक कंपनी के कार्य में इसलिए इंटरवीन कर रहे हैं क्योंकि अब ये कंपनी एक कंपनी नहीं रह गई है. ये कॉमर्शियल अफेयर्स के अलावा सिविल, मिलिट्री और रेवेन्यू अफेयर्स भी कर रही है, और वहां पे ये एक स्टेट की तरह बिहेव कर रही है. यहां पे एक ये सरकार की तरह बिहेव कर रही है, ना कि एक कंपनी की तरह. अर्थात जहां पे ये सरकार की तरह बिहेव कर रही है वहां पे हमें इसको मॉनिटर करना है. तो आपसे में कौन सी इंफॉर्मेशन चाहिए? आपसे में आपके धंधे की इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं चाहिए, पर हमको आपसे वो इंफॉर्मेशन चाहिए जहां पे आप एज अ गवर्नमेंट काम कर रहे हैं. राइट? आई गिव द आंसर इन हिंदी बिकॉज ऑलरेडी दिस कंटेंट वॉज गिवन इन इंग्लिश थ्रू आउट द क्लास. Right, but because still the student was not able to understand and he asked a question in Hindi, so that's why I gave the answer in Hindi. Nothing has been said new, but still I'll repeat in English. It simply meant that capitalism is there, and in capitalism the state usually does not like to interfere in the business affairs of a company. Right? And therefore the state is interfering only in those affairs which are non-business affairs where the company is behaving like a government or like a state. And those are civil, military and revenue affairs. So that's why the state is calling information only on civil, military and revenue affairs, not on the commercial affairs. आपने कितने का सामान खरीदा, how much amount of goods you purchased from India and at what profits you sold it elsewhere, this is not the domain of the state. You are a businessman, अपना पैसा कमाइए, कोई problem नहीं है. You're a businessman, earn money, no problem. But where you are behaving as a state, there we have a right to enter. Because in the domain of the state should only be the tiger. There should not be any non-state actor which is there. Yes. Whenever the parliament is meeting, it can deliberate upon what is the information they have received. Right? So write down. But it will take time. Right? निर्णय पहले लेके बात बता. So write down. Importance is equal to first time. Importance is equal to first time. Importance is equal to first time. Mr. Das or Vipayan Das है, तो I am assuming it is Mr. Sir, I have one question from last class, that is there a different taxation system for different provinces? हाँ, Ryotwari it is for Scam B, right? Your Mehalwari it is for Cup, Central Provinces, United Provinces, Punjab, And Bob went to North Madras and permanently settled. So Bengal, Odisha, Bihar and North Madras, it is having permanent settlement. So these are three different taxation systems in the domain of agriculture, which we call land revenue systems, three land revenue systems of the Britishers, right? Who were appointed as council and how GG Bengal had more power of making decision in the council. We'll come to that. Who are the other four people? आएंगे, वो details हैं, उसमें आएंगे, ठीक? So write down. Importance is equal to first time right of parliament to regulate. First time right of parliament, यहाँ पे parliament British parliament है. First time right of parliament to regulate EIC's affairs, EIC affairs in India. First time right of parliament to regulate EIC affairs in India, legally recognized. First time right of parliament to regulate EIC's affairs in India, legally recognized. Plus, the act brought COD of EIC. The act brought COD of EIC under supervision of British Parliament. The act brought COD of EIC under supervision of British Parliament. Under supervision of British Parliament. As COD now had to submit, as COD of EIC now had to submit, as COD of EIC now had to submit all info money information, all info received from India, all info received from India on civil, military and revenue matters, on civil, military and revenue matters to the British state, to the British state, to the British state. However, commercial matters were kept free from supervision. However, commercial matters were kept free from supervision. However, commercial matters were kept free from supervision. As only those areas, however, commercial matters were kept free from supervision as only those areas where EIC acted as a state, as only those areas where EIC acted as a state were regulated. Were regulated. Were regulated. Next point. GBE, Governor of Bengal. GBE लिख लो, समय बचाओ. Governor of Bengal elevated to Governor General of Bengal, GG Bengal. Governor of Bengal elevated to Governor General of Bengal, GG Bengal. Plus GBO and GMA plus Governors of Bombay and Madras plus GBO and GMA, that is Governors of Bombay and Madras, subordinated to GG Bengal, subordinated to GG Bengal in matters of war and peace. Subordinated to GG Bengal in matters of war and peace. In matters of war and peace. In brackets star लगा के. Britain wanted accountability. Britain wanted accountability on military expenditure. Britain wanted accountability on military expenditure. Brackets closed. Britain wanted accountability on military expenditure. Brackets closed. Comma, except in emergency circumstances. Comma, except in emergency circumstances. Except in emergency circumstances. Except in emergency circumstances. Next point, GG Bengal to collect info on all matters. GG Bengal to collect info on all matters of EIC affairs in India. All matters on EIC affairs in India. EIC affairs in India. And send the same to COD of EIC in London. GG Bengal to collect info on all matters on EIC affairs in India and send the same to COD of EIC in London. Send the same to COD of EIC in London. In brackets star लगा के all matters is equal to commercial plus CMR. Commercial plus CMR. CMR माने civil military revenue. Commercial plus C, M, R. Right? Brackets close. Right? Next point. Supreme Council of Bengal was created. Supreme Council of Bengal was created. तो जो आपको यहाँ जीजी बंगाल इन काउंसिल है इसका सुप्रीम काउंसिल भी बोलते थे. वी यूज्ड टू कॉल इट सुप्रीम काउंसिल आल्सो. सुप्रीम काउंसिल ऑफ बंगाल वाज क्रिएटेड. सुप्रीम काउंसिल ऑफ बंगाल वाज क्रिएटेड अंडर जीजी बंगाल. अंडर जीजी बंगाल. अंडर जीजी बंगाल with four members slash councillors. 4 members slash councillors. 4 members slash councillors. Members slash councillors. That is GG Bengal was put in a council of 4. That is GG Bengal was put in a council of 4. GG Bengal was put in a council of 4. GG Bengal was put in a council of 4. This council of 4, it means GG Bengal was put in a council of 4. It means 1 plus 4. To prevent the confusion that whether it was 1 plus 3, council of 4 बोला ना, so to prevent the confusion that it is 1 plus 3 or it is 1 plus 4, it is being clarified. Bracket में star लगा के you can write down 1 plus 4. 1 plus 4. Full stop. This was done to ensure democratic decision making. 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 As all decisions were to be taken on basis of majority vote. All decisions were to be taken on basis of majority vote of 4 councillors. Majority vote of 4 councillors. Majority vote of 4 councillors. माने कि जीजी बंगाल will not be voting. जीजी बंगाल, so bracket स्टार ने लिखा के जीजी बंगाल did not vote. GG Bengal did not vote, brackets closed. GG Bengal did not vote, brackets closed. Right? कब vote करेगा? When it is 2 versus 2. Tie. That is casting vote. Right? So therefore, that is, so write down, full stop. GG Bengal only had a casting vote. GG Bengal only had a casting vote. GG Bengal only had a casting vote. Next point. A Supreme Court at Calcutta, with one Chief Justice with one chief justice and 3 with one chief justice and 3 normal judges and 3 normal judges. Anyone from law background? Anyone from law background? No one? रैगिंग थोड़ी लूंगा नहीं, किसी ने लॉ नहीं किया हुआ? एक लड़का है, एक था, पता लगाओ उसको, निकालो उसको। लॉ वालों के भी अलग टंटे हैं। मैं तो ऐसे याद रखा है भाई, मैंने ऐसे याद रखा है भाई, पसीना जज, जिन जजों को पसीने आते हो, ठीक है, जो नॉर्मल जज होते हैं उनको कहते हैं प्यूसाइन जजेस। तो मेरा दिमाग खराब हो गया, किताब में लिखा था 1 चीफ जस्टिस एंड 3 प्यूसाइन जजेस। मेरे भाई ये प्यूसाइन जजेस क्या है? तो गूगल पे गया, सर्च किया प्यूसाइन जज, कुछ लिखा, कह रहे जज है बस, नॉर्मल जज। तो प्यूसाइन प्यूसाइन क्या कर रहे हो? तो कुछ नहीं, 3 नॉर्मल जजेस इन ब्रैकेट्स प्यूसाइन जजेस। मैं याद कर पसीना जज। और कैसे याद करूं? प्यूसाइन जज मतलब 3 नॉर्मल जज माने प्यूसाइन जजेस, ठीक है। तो जस्ट इन केस, अगर प्यूसाइन का मतलब होता है नॉर्मल, सो जस्ट इन केस इन प्रीलिम्स कुछ ऐसा आ जाता है प्यूसाइन व्यूसाइन, तो ऐसा मतलब पर तुम्हारे पसीने नहीं छूटने चाहिए। ठीक है, तो मतलब इट इज नॉर्मल, ठीक है। chosen by the king, chosen by the king, full stop. 3 normal judges chosen by the king, full stop. Chosen by the king, full stop. Chosen by the king, full stop. Next point. Regulating Act 1773 barred. Regulating Act 1773 barred. Regulating Act 1773 barred. 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 Taking of gifts by EIC officials. Taking of gifts by EIC officials from Indians. Taking of gifts by EIC officials from Indians. Therefore, focus on anti-corruption. Taking of gifts by EIC officials from Indians. Therefore, focus on anti-corruption. Therefore, focus on anti-corruption. Next, 4-year tenure. 4-year tenure. 4-year tenure of directors. 4-year tenure of directors of COD of EIC. इसकी स्पेलिंग गलत है. Gaurav is giving the name Eliza Impe. IMPAY नहीं था. He was Chief Justice. He was the Chief Justice of this Supreme Court. ठीक है, तो anyways, तो वापस आते हैं. 4-year tenure of directors of COD. 4-year tenure of directors of COD of EIC. Plus could not be reappointed. Plus could not be reappointed. Plus could not be reappointed. Next point. 5-year tenure for GG Bengal. 5-year tenure for GG Bengal. Plus could be reappointed. 5-year tenure for GG Bengal. Plus could be reappointed. Plus could be dismissed in between. Could be reappointed plus could be dismissed in between. Plus could be dismissed in between. कौन करेगा? Obviously भाई COD of EIC करेगी. Dismiss. Plus could be dismissed in between. A student had asked who appointed these 4 members. So initially, if you look at the original, I have looked at the original Regulating Act of 1773 as part of some research. So there names of Warren Hastings as Governor General of Bengal was mentioned in the Act. Name of the 4 councillors was also mentioned in the Act. But going forward, it will be done by the Code of Directors of the East India Company. तो जो फर्स्ट टाइम अपॉइंट किए गए थे काउंसलर्स एंड गवर्नर जनरल ऑफ बंगाल, दे वर अपॉइंटेड बाय द एक्ट, बट फ्यूचर अपॉइंटमेंट्स दे आर गिवन टू द ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी, राइट. सो इट इज नॉट इंपॉर्टेंट, राइट, बट किसी स्टूडेंट ने पूछा तो इसलिए मैंने बता दिया, राइट. ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी के ही ऑफिशियल्स हैं, दीज आर ऑल प्राइवेट ऑफिशियल्स. इन प्राइवेट ऑफिशियल्स की सरकारी नौकरी, दीज प्राइवेट ऑफिशियल्स विल गेट गवर्नमेंट जॉब ओनली आफ्टर द 1858 गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया एक्ट. Till that point of time, they are private, 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 private. They are private officials, right? They are private officials. But हाँ, उनका कुछ रेगुलेशन किया जा रहा है, ठीक है? Next point, 4-year tenure, 4-year tenure of counselors, 4-year tenure of 4 counselors, 4-year tenure of 4 counselors, 4-year tenure of 4 counselors. कुछ स्टूडेंट्स को यूजुअली पता नहीं, या तो मैं कोई सेंटेंस ऐसा बोलता हूं पढ़ाते टाइम, उनको एक कंफ्यूजन होती है दैट वेदर गवर्नर ऑफ बॉम्बे एंड मद्रास वर दे मेंबर्स ऑफ दिस काउंसिल. नो, दे वर नॉट. These 4 counselors are separate and these 3 people are separate. These 4 counselors are separate and these 3 people are separate. Right? In 1784 Pitt's India Act, they will also be put in a council of 3. These people are separate. These people are separate. These people are separate. Right? तो ऐसा मिक्स नहीं होना है that governor of Bombay or governor of Madras, they are members of this particular council. अभी ऐसा फिलहाल कुछ नहीं है. Right? 4-year tenure for COD of EIC. इससे में एक और चीज पता चलती है. क्या पता चलती है? Whatever we have mentioned on the board, that is the soul of this act. And whatever points right now I am dictating to you, they are miscellaneous points. अगर आप दिमाग से भी सोचोगे तो इनके अंदर कुछ इतनी इंटेलिजेंस वाली कोई चीज नहीं है. कौन सा पार्ट टूट पड़ता कि इनका टेन्योर 4 साल की बजाय 3 साल का होता तो? What would have happened if this tenure had not been 4 years but 3 years, 5 years but कुछ और? Reappointed, not reappointed, dismissed in between. How does it matter? How does it matter? These are smaller issues. These are not the brain of the act. The brain of the act is there in front of the board. The brain of the act is the structure that they are creating. The brain of the act is a student knowing that commercial matters are different and CMR matters are different. That private affairs was one kind of affairs of the company and public affairs were another kind of the affairs of the company. Right? That is the brain. Simple things, but that is the brain. Right? So this is what is happening. Why? Why the government is bringing the reasons which you have listed down above. That is important with respect to regulating act. So therefore, as a student, खुद भी थोड़ा सा सोचना सीखो that in, because many laws they are brought by the parliament when we are studying current affairs polity. So therefore, as a student, you should start thinking कि भाई what is the major problem which this act wants to solve, right? And how it is solving that problem, and what are the positives and what are the negatives in that solution which has been provided. That is important. Bajay ke rote learning that one body will be created, it will be having 3 members, a committee will be created, will be, that is not that important. More important is why, right? So therefore, this focus, it is required in the current affairs of polity as well, right? Anyways, but prelims ke hisab se, we have to simply read them, and just in case a question comes where we are required to recognize, we will recognize and move it. So these things we will also mention, but they are secondary importance or primary importance, right? Next point, GBO and GMA, Governors of Bombay and Madras, GBO and GMA could be suspended. GBO and GMA could be suspended by GG Bengal, could be suspended by GG Bengal if they disobeyed him, if they disobeyed him in matters of war and peace. If they disobeyed him in matters of war and peace. If they disobeyed him in matters of war and peace. Last point before we go to break, legislative function. Legislative function. Legislative function was given. Legislative function was given to Supreme Council of Bengal. Legislative function was given to Supreme Council of Bengal. So see, now the company state can officially make laws for Bengal. Right? So that is how it is there, right? So legislative function is given to Supreme Council of Bengal. So it is the journey of legislature has begun in India. Journey of modern legislature has begun in India. In a way, journey of modern legislature has begun in India. These 5 people, they will be making laws for Bengal. So legislative function it is given. Next heading right now result, and after that we'll go to a break and we'll meet after 10 minutes. Hanji. All decisions will be taken by GG Bengal, majority decision. Even when we are saying that governors of Bombay and Madras, they can be suspended by GG Bengal. GG Bengal cannot act on his own. Every decision of GG Bengal is taken in the council. Every decision of GG Bengal is made as per voting in the council. उसका individual कोई decision नहीं है. COD will be appointing these 4 members. Yes. Yes. हाँ, GG Bengal in council, वो in council हमेशा शांत है. GG Bengal in council has the power to suspend governors of Bombay and Madras. सूरत वाला हुआ तो ठीक है, सस्पेंड नहीं किया. आप क्या चाहते हो, सस्पेंड कर दे? कर सकता था, पर डिसोबे कहां किया उसने? He is saying that I have acted in emergency circumstance. Fine, you take time and now you take a considered decision. So fine, you are overturning my treaty of Surat, no problem. What are the discretionary powers of the GG Bengal? Discretionary powers of the GG Bengal is the matter which is brought before the council. That matter will be decided by GG Bengal. Which questions are considered, which questions are taken up for decision, ये पावर जीजी बंगाल के पास है. प्लस एक बार आपने डिसीजन ले लिया, आफ्टर दैट हाउ टू इंप्लीमेंट दैट डिसीजन, दैट इज द पावर ऑफ जीजी बंगाल. समझ रहे हो? तो उस प्रकार से मतलब आपने यहां पे डिसीजन ले लिया कि इमरजेंसी लगानी है, ठीक है, हो गया डिसीजन. उसके बाद इमरजेंसी कैसे लगानी है, कब क्या करना है, एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा, दैट विल बी द पावर ऑफ जीजी बंगाल उस सेंस में. सो एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन इज अंडर कंट्रोल जीजी बंगाल, फाइन, डिसीजन इट इज बीइंग टेकन बाय द कैबिनेट, राइट, दैट काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो. हाँ जी, इट इज ओनली फॉर बंगाल टेरिटरी बिकॉज ही इज गवर्नर जनरल, बट कहां का? ऑफ बंगाल, राइट. सो मीट आफ्टर 10 minutes. So what were the means of communication at that time? Ships are moving and letters are going. GG Bengal might be sending wrong information. Well, if he sends wrong information, then he is putting his job at risk. Please once again explain what is summary settlement that was applied on Awadh. Summary is opposite of detail, right? And when you settlement means the government is settling the amount, deciding the amount of land revenue that has to be given by the taxpayer. So when you are not doing proper survey, when you are in a summary manner, you are saying that you should give, Mr. X should give this much amount of land revenue and Mr. Y should give that much amount of land revenue. Therefore, it is called summary settlement. That is without going into the details of things, randomly you have said that this is the amount of, you have fixed the land revenue. But British states had say in selection of top EIC officials before 1858. Can we say that British had regulation before 1858? अभी तो 1858 से पहले ही है. This is 1773. So we are discussing that how the EIC officials, they are under regulation, right? So therefore that is there. Pitt's India Act में आएगा वो. So COD was introduced by this act or it was established before the act? It was there since the time period of 1600. That's why I say that at times you should just at least simply go through, not print out, but simply go through the handouts which we have given. So therefore in the handout on East India Company, it is mentioned that in the court of directors there were 24 members, right? So therefore it is mentioned that is in 1600 when the company is established, at that point of time itself there is a court of director, right? Who gave idea to the king to choose chief justice and 3 puisne judges in the Supreme Court at Calcutta. Well, king is acting on the behalf of the government, so therefore it is the decision of the prime minister. Sir, was the prime minister and his cabinet? Sir, was the COD controlled by anyone? No, COD is not controlled by anyone. It is being regulated now. Sir, who were these 4 councillors? So these 4 councillors, उनके नाम है, नाम देखने पड़ेंगे, मैंने लिखे हुए हैं कहीं पे, देखने पड़ेंगे. उसमें से एक था वो था आपका फिलिप फ्रांसिस था, एक का नाम पता है जो इंपॉर्टेंट है, फिलिप फ्रांसिस. So Philip Francis is important because he opposed the GG Bengal, that is Warren Hastings, a lot. Right, so he kept on sending letters to London that GG Bengal is very corrupt, GG Bengal is very corrupt. Why? Because he himself wanted to become GG Bengal. Right, and ultimately their disputes, they ended in what you call as your cowboy style, duel. Right, so they decided to settle their disputes in the form of duel. In the duel, what happens? You will be having a gun, I will be having a gun, right? And first you will shoot at me, right? If I survive, then I will shoot at you. Right, and therefore whoever is victorious, that person will be able to win the duel. What happened? Rain happened, and Philip Francis and Warren Hastings both had never fired a gun in their life. So Warren Hastings was a gentleman, so he gave the first chance to Philip Francis to fire. He tried to fire, but the gun jammed. So still Warren Hastings is waiting. So finally he is about to fix the gun. He fires, he misses. After that, Warren Hastings, he takes a shot. By chance, he is able to hit the body of Philip Francis. Philip Francis thinks that he has died. Right, so he creates a ruckus, mar gaya, right. But luckily for him, that only that bullet had not lodged, it had only touched and went away. So therefore, this was a level of rivalry which was there in the council, right, between Philip Francis, one of the councillor, and the Warren Hastings. How these 4 councillors were appointed? Well, the Act appointed by name for the first time, but after passage of 4 years, the Court of Directors of the East India Company will be appointing the next 4 councillors. Sir, is Governor of Bombay and Madras provide information about CMR to GG Bengal? Yes, they will provide information regarding everything, but right now they do not have much civil matters with them, much military matters हो सकते हैं, for example Treaty of Surat. Right, revenue matters जब तक इनका territory as such नहीं है तो वो भी नहीं होंगे. Right, commercial matters होंगे, military matters होंगे, civil and revenue matters अभी नहीं होंगे. Civil and revenue matters will get added when they annex any territory. So for example, when Maharashtra is annexed after the third Anglo-Maratha war of 1817-19, so therefore then you will have civil and revenue matters. Plus also when Samrajya is annexed, decent parts of Samrajya are annexed in the second Anglo-Maratha war, so then the governor of Bombay will start having civil and revenue matters. Military matters हो ही सकते हैं, लड़ाई कभी भी हो सकती है. Right, sir, but who could suspend Governor General of Bengal? Well, Governor General of Bengal will be suspended by the appointing authority, and who is the legal appointing authority? The Court of Directors of the East India Company. Right, so therefore this is the kind of scenario. The Parliament may give a direction to the Court of Directors of the East India Company that something wrong is taking place, please suspend him. Trial can also take place. Right, for example, Robert Clive का trial हुआ था in the British Parliament. Trial Parliament में हुआ था. Right, similarly, for example, Warren Hastings was also tried. Lord Wellesley was also tried. All on the charges of corruption. Who appointed the COD? The shareholders. The shareholders of the company, they will appoint the COD. Any company, चाहे कोई भी company हो, it is the shareholders, right, who vote. So you can, for sampling, you can open an account on Zerodha or Upstocks or anything, and you can buy some shares. At times you'll see, you'll receive a message that voting is going to take place on different decisions, right? So therefore, shareholders, they decide. Legislative function limited to only Bengal or other presidency. He is Governor General of Bengal, so therefore only for Bengal. Doubt on why only CMR and not in commercial matters, please repeat again, because simple point is, in capitalism, the state should not interfere in the business of any company. Right? But here the company is acting not just as a businessman, it is also acting as a state, as a government, because it has become ruler of Bengal. So therefore, where you have become a ruler, there we will monitor you, because jungle mein ek hi sher hona chahiye, there should only be one tiger in the domain of the state. That is why you cannot keep AK-47. That is why you cannot keep AK-47. That is why to keep any arm, you need to take a license from the state. Because jungle mein ek hi sher ho sakta hai, the state. समझ रहे हो? That is why you cannot annex any territory. पता लगा आपने 4-5 गुंडे लिए हैं, आप पहुंच गए कहीं श्रीलंका, नेपाल, कहीं आपने टेरिटरी अनेक्स कर ली, कह रहे मैं यहाँ आ जाऊँ, जैसे खरीद लिया आपने टेरिटरी, वो कैलासा स्वामी नित्यानंद ने कैलासा बना लिया ना, है ना? सो देयरफॉर ऐसा थोड़ी होता है. So 4 counselors and judges of the courts were different. Yes, they are different. Judges, they will look at the judicial matters, right? We'll come to that. Question on regulation and control. Can we say RBI bring the changes in repo rate is control? No, it is regulation. It is regulation. It is indirectly controlling the behavior. It is indirectly regulating the behavior by changing the repo rate. Repo rate is the domain of RBI, the rate at which banks borrow, right, and lend to RBI, repo rate, reverse repo rate, right. So therefore that is the domain of the RBI. RBI पैसा दे रहा ना, तो वो डिसाइड करेगा मैं किस रेट पे पैसा दूंगा. वो बैंक को थोड़ी कुछ कह रहा है, तुम नहीं लेना पैसा मतलब. If you don't want to take loan from RBI, don't take a loan from RBI. Who is telling you my interest rate is this? It is their domain. But they are trying to regulate the behavior of the banks because it is going to impact the lending rates by the banks to the common man, right? And therefore this is also known as what you call as transmission delay in monetary policy. For example, the Reserve Bank raises the repo rate, but the banks, they do not increase the lending rate to us, but increases that after 6 months. So we can say in the transmission of the policy of Reserve Bank of India, there was a delay of 6 months. Repo rates are increased by the Reserve Bank of India to decrease liquidity in the market. Liquidity means amount of money supply which is there in the market. If the banks are giving more and more loans, then the money supply is very, very high. Liquidity is very, very high. So when the Reserve Bank of India increases repo rate, right? So therefore the Reserve Bank of India is wanting that बैंक ने मेरे से पैसा लिया at higher rate, so बैंक profits के लिए आगे भी पैसा देगा at even higher rates. If this happens immediately, that means faster transmission of the monetary policy at the ground level. If it happens with a delay, it is called delayed transmission of monetary policy, right? So therefore regulation है, control नहीं है. Who appoints the governor of Bombay and Madras? The company, the COD. Does Orientalist and Anglicist controversy led to the introduction of the English language in India? Yes, it did. Sir, when you teach, it's like we are going for a war. So is that a compliment? Or it is मतलब जान का खतरा महसूस होता है, क्या होता है? Sir, who is the head over Governor General of Bengal? Court of Directors of EIC. Can we go with our class notes and spectrum and avoid handout? I mean, yes, you can. Yes, you can. Write down result is equal to. Server को लिखो यहाँ, बहुत टाइम लगेगा. Result is equal to. Result is equal to first sub point. Huge distance. First sub point, huge distance. Huge distance between India and England. Huge distance between India and England led to poor supervision. Huge distance between India and England led to poor supervision due to problems of communication. Due to problems of communication. Due to problems of communication. Imagine that Chief Minister is supervising the district magistrate, right? And in the district, law and order situation deteriorated, riots took place, right? And the Chief Minister is coming to know after 6 months. Will the Chief Minister be able to effectively supervise anything? So therefore distance is huge, modern technology is not there. So therefore because of this, supervision will suffer. Court of Director will not be able to properly supervise the affairs of the EIC men in India, and therefore the British Parliament will not be able to properly supervise the Court of Directors of EIC in London because of delay, because of delayed information, right? So therefore this kind of scenario. Next, write down centralization of power. Centralization of power in GG Bengal began. Centralization of power in GG Bengal began. Centralization of power in GG Bengal began. Right? In brackets डाला गया, लिखिए. गई. Journey of federalism. Journey of federalism versus unitary structure. Journey of federalism versus unitary structure in India has begun. Journey of federalism versus unitary structure in India has begun. Brackets closed. What is federalism? The sharing of power between the center and the states. right? And therefore, what we are saying earlier, there was this horizontal structure. All the three regional CEOs, all the three regional managers, they are at equal power. But what the Regulating Act has done, right? It has created the GG Bengal as relatively more powerful compared to the governor of Madras and Bombay. Why relatively only? Why not super? Because only in matters of war and peace they are subordinated. As the Pitt's India Act 1784 will come, right? And by the time Charter Act of 1833 comes, that is total unitary structure. The GG Bengal will be named as Governor General of India in the Charter Act of 1833. Unitary structure. This unitary structure will continue until 1861 Indian Councils Act. In the Indian Councils Act of 1861, legislative powers of governors of Bombay and Madras, they are restored, right? So now, right? And as further council acts, they keep on coming. By the time period of Government of India Act of 1835, it will be provincial autonomy will be brought by the Government of India Act of 1935, right? So therefore, this journey of federalism, that is sharing of powers between the center and the state, through the Regulating Act, you have started creating a center. In the EIC affairs, you have started creating a center in the form of Governor General of Bengal. Federalism is sharing of power between state and center, right? So journey of federalism and unitary structure has begun. These things, they are not there in the books. But I want to know answer to this question, Mr. Arya Raghuvanshi. Sir, when you teach, it's like we are going to war. तो मतलब ये मतलब क्या है मतलब what do you mean by this? It is like a positive, it is like a negative, it is like what? What do you feel? You feel fear, right? Or you feel what? हाँ, अंग्रेजों के खिलाफ लड़ाई अभी स्टार्ट होगी, इंडियन नेशनल मूवमेंट आएगा, ठीक है. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट राइट ऑन. हाँ जी. Federalism did not begin. No, we are talking about modern polity. Federalism also began in the time post 1707. See, system of federalism and unitary structure will be there since ancient times. There will always be centers which are extra powerful. There will always be centers which are moderately powerful. There will always be centers which are very, very weak. Unitary structure, federalism, confederation. Unitary center is very, very powerful. Federation center is relatively powerful or equal. And confederation where the center is very, very weak. Right? So therefore, ऐसे तो हमेशा रहेगा, but we are talking about the modern polity. Why? Because the Indian Constitution, it is borrowed from the British Constitution and also borrowed from the legacy which was created, legal legacy which was created by the Britishers before 1947. So therefore, we are talking about modern polity वाला federalism and unitary structure. तो उसका journey start हो गया. Right? This very same GG Bengal will later on go to become the Viceroy. And later on, the powers of the Viceroy will be gradually taken over by the Prime Minister. Right? So therefore, this is how the things are going to move. Right? These people, they will become governors. Today's governors of the Constitution of India, these people, they will become those governors. Right? And they are agents of the center. Right? So उस प्रकार से धीरे-धीरे चीजें change होंगी. अभी journey start हुई है. Right? So anyways, next point, disunity in Supreme Council of Bengal. Disunity in Supreme Council of Bengal. Disunity in Supreme Council of Bengal and lack of veto power, VETO, and lack of veto power and lack of veto power, VETO power with GG Bengal, lack of veto power with GG Bengal led to problem of indecision, led to problem of indecision. Led to problem of indecision. Led to problem of indecision. Right? So indecision माने since the every decision has to be taken by majority vote, so 2 versus 2 will take place a lot of times. Yes, GG Bengal has a casting vote, but then what? And what if there is Governor General of Bengal proposes that I want this decision, and 3 of the members they say sorry. GG Bengal is becoming like मैं क्या करूँ अब? I want to implement this particular policy or this particular decision, and 3 of the members of the council, they have said no. So how do I rule? He is frustrated. This is called indecision, and he does not have veto power. Veto power means power to overrule the decision of the 4 members of the council. right? So this is leading to problem of indecision. This is leading to problem of indecision, right? That kind of scenario. Next point, vague wordings of quote, vague wordings, VAGUE, unclear, vague, VAGUE, vague wordings of quote, emergency circumstances, vague wordings of quote, emergency circumstances, emergency circumstances meant that in practice, GBO and GMA, vague wordings of quote, emergency circumstances meant that in practice GBO and GMA acted, in practice GBO and GMA acted independently, in matters of war and peace, acted independently in matters of war and peace. Example, Treaty of Surat 1775 by GBO. Example, Treaty of Surat 1775 by GPO. Treaty of Surat 1775 by GPO. Bhai, how do you define what is the emergency circumstances? How do you define what is the emergency circumstances? No, you want to go to toilet. You are saying, sir, emergency. How do I decide what is the level of pressure? It is for you, it is emergency, whereas for him it is not. He is right, कोई नहीं, control कर लूँगा, आप लिखाई जाओ. But at one point of time he says, sir, now emergency. You do not know what is the level of emergency. Emergency, it can be interpreted in different ways, right? By Raghunath Rao 7374 has come to me. Whether this is an emergency or not, who will decide? The person on the ground, Governor of Bombay, decides. Bhai, is that an emergency or something else? Something more is an emergency. So it is very vague. And because these people are jealous of GG Bengal now. Earlier they were equals. 3 easy men is. Now they are jealous. So therefore in practice they act by emergency hai. Ab ladte raho. Now you keep on fighting with each other. That whether this is emergency or whether that is emergency. So therefore the act should mention clearly that which of the conditions they should be satisfied for you to say that it is emergency. Which of the conditions they should be satisfied for you to say that it is emergency. Some conditions should be there, right? Some conditions should be there, है ना? तो तुम्हारा कुछ प्रेशर कैलकुलेट करने को मशीन लगानी चाहिए. इतना काहे हंस रहे हो? हैं? मजाक चल रहा है यहाँ? स्मार्ट लग रहा है जैकेट में से. अभी मैंने एक बच्चे की जैकेट देखी, वो एडिडास की जगह लिखा होता है एडिबास. एडिबास. चलो चलो. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, conflict between Supreme Court, conflict between SC at Calcutta, conflict between SC at Calcutta and GG Bengal's council, due to lack of clarity in jurisdiction of both, due to lack in clarity in jurisdiction of both, lack of clarity in jurisdiction of both. फुल स्टॉप, पूरा सेंटेंस लिखते हैं फिर समझाएंगे. फुल स्टॉप. jurisdiction of SC was over all British subjects residing in Bengal and their native/Indian servants, and their native slash Indian servants. Native slash Indian servants. Native slash Indian servants. Right? So therefore, that was their jurisdiction. So what is the meaning of this particular sentence? The meaning of this particular sentence is that after 1772, so you can mention this, that after 1772, Chief Justice in practice is equal to GG Bengal. हम कहाँ की बात कर रहे हैं? बंगाल की ही बात कर रहे हैं. चीफ जस्टिस इन प्रैक्टिस इन बंगाल इज इक्वल टू जीजी बंगाल एंड हिज काउंसिल मेंबर्स ठीक. प्लस इन 1773 नाउ अ सुप्रीम कोर्ट. कहां पे? इन कैलकाटा. तो jurisdiction का क्लैश हो गया. That which court case will be heard by GG Bengal and his council members and which court case will be heard by the Supreme Court at Calcutta. तो ये jurisdiction का क्लैश हो गया. डिफाइन तो करा था उन्होंने, they defined it कि भाई all British born subjects, माने कि there is let's say some murder took place whereby shot was fired by some Firangi, right, and Indian died or vice versa. So therefore, they are saying that cases involving all British born subjects, they will be heard by Supreme Court of Calcutta. That is there, right? But let's say this shot was fired while the officer was on duty. The shot was fired while the officer was on duty, and therefore the GG Bengal wants to protect his officer. GG Bengal say नहीं, ये एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन मेरा काम है. This case will be heard by me and my council members. I want to protect my officer. Clash. Plus लिखा क्या हुआ है? And their Indian servants. माने कि for example, you are a Firangi officer and I am your servant. मैं आपका नौकर हूं. Right? I and she, we entered into a dispute. Right? And she stabbed me. After that, there is a case which I have filed. The normal judges, which are under the GG Bengal and his council, they are saying, I will listen to this case. Supreme Court at Calcutta is saying, no, since I am a servant of a Firangi official, the case is with me. अब ऐसा मतलब conflict होने लगा उनके बीच में. Right? So this was the jurisdiction conflict. Right? So ये आपस में लड़ने लगे. हाँ जी. बताया तो अभी आप सुन नहीं रहे थे. अभी जो मैं कह रहा था, अभी जब मैंने क्या कहते हैं बात करी कि किसी फिरंगी ऑफिशियल ने मुझे गोली मार दी, मैं सर्वेंट हो गया. बट पॉइंट इज कि एक फिरंगी ऑफिशियल और एक इंडियन इन्वॉल्व है ना. तो वही तो कह रहा हूं, सिविल डिस्प्यूट दे आर विद दिस थिंग ना. सिविल डिस्प्यूट्स इफ दे आर बिटवीन एन इंडियन, भाई एनी डिस्प्यूट सिविल और क्रिमिनल, इफ इट इज ओनली बिटवीन एन इंडियन एंड अनदर इंडियन, clearly the court case will be by the regular courts of India which existed before the Supreme Court. Diwani Adalat, Nizamat Adalat at the district level, Sadar Diwani Adalat for the civilian matters was the Supreme Court, Sadar Nizamat Adalat was the Supreme Court for criminal matters. And Sadar Diwani Adalat and Sadar Nizamat Adalat, they were brought under their control by GG Bengal and his council members in 1772. That means the normal Indian judiciary is now after 1772 under GG Bengal and his council members, and now you have added a Supreme Court at Calcutta, and then you have not very clearly defined that what will be the court cases which will go to Supreme Court at Calcutta and what are the cases which will be heard by the GG Bengal and his council members, right? So that is the issue. Obviously the Supreme Court at Calcutta, its focus is that wherever my Britishers are involved, those cases, the whole principle is that wherever any Firangi is involved, that case should be heard by the Supreme Court in Calcutta, so they get proper justice. Why? Because अब ये ज्यादा डिटेल में चला गया, तभी तो पूछता रहा फालतू चीजें. ठीक, अब मुझे समझाना पड़ेगा तो सुन लियो, फिर मैं सवाल पूछूंगा तेरे से, ठीक. दिस टॉपिक इज कवर्ड इन द EIC एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, राइट. सो ओरिएंटलिज्म इज इन ऑपरेशन. ओरिएंटलिज्म हुआ है हमारा अभी तक? नहीं हुआ ना. ओरिएंटलिज्म इट इज इन ऑपरेशन, दैट इज रूल इंडिया द इंडियन वे. एनीवेज हो गया ना, ठीक है ना. सो देयरफॉर यू सी हिंदू लॉ एंड इस्लामिक लॉ, they are working in the normal Indian courts. The Britishers, they are worried that wherever my British person is involved, there it should be the British law which should operate and not the Hindu law and the Islamic law. तो क्या करें? तो let us set up a separate court called Supreme Court in Calcutta, so that my Britishers, they are tried as per my law and not as per the Hindu law and the Islamic law. Now, there can be miscellaneous cases where one Britisher is present, one Indian is present, or the act is done in official duty or in personal capacity. शाम को तू दारू पीटा था, तूने गुस्से में आकर गोली चला दी. This is an act which is in personal capacity, right? But दिन में तू ड्यूटी कर रहा था, तूने गोली चला दी. That is an act in official capacity. So such disputes they can be there between the GG Bengal and the Supreme Court at Calcutta, that which case will go to whom. And usually Indian versus Indian case should go to here, to GG Bengal and this hierarchy of Indian courts. But there the dispute is there, some person claims that I am a servant of a Firangi. My case should go to Supreme Court in Calcutta. Such kind of disputes they can be there. I am simply saying कि कुछ infighting थी, कुछ personality conflicts हैं यहाँ पे, बस as simple as that. ठीक है, और कुछ नहीं. ठीक है. Next right now. इन ब्रैकेट स्टार लगा के लिखिए SC was supreme only in name. SC was supreme only in name. SC is supreme only in name. And don't compare it with present SC. And don't compare it with present SC. Full stop. High Court Act 1861. High Court Act 1861. High Court Act 1861 led to 3 high courts in 3 presidencies. High Court Act 1861 led to 3 high courts in 3 presidencies. And Calcutta High Court is equal to, and Calcutta High Court is equal to, Calcutta High Court is equal to SC at Calcutta plus SC at Calcutta plus Calcutta High Court is equal to SC at Calcutta plus Sadar Nizamat Adalat, Sadar Nizamat Adalat. It was a top criminal court. It was a top criminal court plus Sadar Diwani Adalat. It was a top civil court. So I'm trying to highlight that High Court of Calcutta, High Court of Calcutta, which was set up in the year 1865 under the High Courts Act 1861, Indian High Courts Act 1861. That Calcutta High Court is made by merging 3 courts, and that is Sadar Nizamat Adalat, which was top criminal court, plus Sadar Diwani Adalat, which was top civil court, and plus the Supreme Court at Calcutta. So students should not get confused that this Supreme Court is something supreme. उसका तो jurisdiction all over India भी नहीं है. It is Supreme Court at Calcutta has jurisdiction only over Bengal, and that also not over the masses, but only over the Britishers. So what will be the population of the Britishers? Nothing. Sadar Diwani Adalat and Sadar Nizamat Adalat, they are much bigger compared to Supreme Court at Calcutta. So therefore इस नाम के झांसे में ना जाएं. ये Supreme Court at Calcutta बस नाम का Supreme Court है. It is only for very limited number of people who are the Britishers, and its jurisdiction is also limited to Bengal only, not India. In fact, there was a, एक और आप लिखिए ब्रैकेट क्लोज करके, एक और नेक्स्ट लाइन लिखिए या फिर ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के लिख लीजिए. SC in Madras in 1800, SC in Madras in 1800, and SC in Bombay in 1823. SC in Madras in 1800 and SC in Bombay in 1823. ब्रैकेट क्लोज। तो 3 सुप्रीम कोर्ट थे बाय 1823, देयर वर 3 सुप्रीम कोर्ट्स। तो ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट इज ओनली इन नेम, ठीक है ना, इसके झांसे में बताना। It was the Government of India Act of 1935 which set up the Federal Court of India, which later on went on to become the present day Supreme Court of India. ठीक है, तो डू नॉट गेट कंफ्यूज कि ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट का ओरिजिन यहां हो रहा है, यहां नहीं हो रहा। तो ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा, दोबारा लिख लो। GOI 1935, GOIA, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया एक्ट 1935, GOIA 1935 set up federal court. GOIA 1935 set up federal court that became today's SC of India. That became today's SC of India. Brackets closed. That became today's Supreme Court of India. Brackets closed. Right. Sir, please explain what is Supreme Court in Calcutta. Supreme Court in Calcutta is simply a court which is saying that which will deal with the cases which involve the Britishers. That's it. कोई भी केस हो जाता है, सिविल केस, क्रिमिनल केस, उसमें कोई फिरंगी इन्वॉल्व है, दैट विल बी heard by the Supreme Court in Calcutta. As simple as that. ठीक है, without going into much detail. Sir, GG Bengal was appointed in 1773. So how this council made in 1772? Well, this council is actually, and his council members, माने यहाँ पे हम बात कर रहे हैं 1773 प्लस की, ठीक, मतलब GG Bengal in his and his council में। So सुप्रीम, इसको सुप्रीम पहले भी काउंसिल थी, बट प्रॉपर सुप्रीम काउंसिल, प्रॉपर लीगल रिकग्निशन उस काउंसिल को 1773 के बाद दिया जा रहा है। तो मतलब ठीक है, एक ही साल का फर्क है या फिर कुछ महीनों का ही फर्क होगा। सो दैट्स वाई उस प्रकार से। भाई अभी तेरे को बोला ना मैंने कि यहाँ पे इस्लामिक लॉ और हिंदू लॉ चल रहा है, तब सो रहा था क्या तू है? और मैंने बोला ना अभी कि फॉर दी ब्रिटिशर्स, the Britishers, they were worried that my citizens, they should be not treated as per Hindu law and Islamic law, they should be treated as per the British law. तो अभी तो मैंने बोला तेरे को कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट इन कैलकाटा will function on the basis of British law and these all other courts they will function on the basis of Hindu law and Islamic law. आधे कोर्ट कहां थे? ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट इन कैलकाटा जिसमें सिर्फ ब्रिटिश लॉ अप्लाई होगा। हम 1935 के बाद वो तो बॉम्बे और मद्रास में है, वो भी इसी रीजन की वजह से होगा। हाँ, ब्रिटिशर्स का पावर था इंडिया में। हाँ, कह सकते हैं, आप बिल्कुल ठीक कह रहे हो, मैं आपको कहीं डिस्प्यूट नहीं कर रहा हूँ इस मामले में। ब्रिटिशर्स का पावर था, तो शुरुआत में जब हमने कोर्ट केस किया था आरोप प्रत्यारोप में, तो उस पॉइंट पे हम ये भी कह सकते हैं कि भाई ब्रिटिशर्स दे हैव स्टार्टेड इंप्लीमेंटिंग देयर लॉ, Britishers they had started implementing their law, although only on the British born subjects, but the Britishers they had started implementing their law in limited domain by setting up Supreme Court at Calcutta in 1773. ऐसा हम बोल सकते हैं, ठीक। नेक्स्ट राइट डाउन हेडिंग अमेंडिंग एक्ट। सर व्हाट इज GOI 1935? गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया एक्ट 1935 है, पूरी क्लास जाएगी इस पे, अभी कैसे जवाब दे दूं आपको? सुप्रिया। So what is simple meaning of federalism? Simple meaning of federalism is sharing of power between papa and beta. Sharing of power between papa and beta. When beta is below 18 years of age, when beta is 5 years, when beta is below 14 years of age, it is totally unitary structure. All decisions are taken by papa. But after 14 years of age, the child starts saying, I am in class 8 papa, I want to drive scooty. ठीक है, I want to go for a night out with my friends. I'm not 18, but I want these things, right? So now gradually you start moving from unitary structure towards some devolution of powers to the beta. Then beta turns 18 years of age. Then beta says, Papa, now I'm going to college, right? I'm going to college and I have voting power also. I need to take my own decisions, right? But still he is not employed. He is financially dependent on papa. So therefore you gradually move towards of federalism with unitary bias. Federalism with unitary bias. माने कि yes, beta is above 18 years of age, but still because he is financially dependent on papa, therefore most of the decisions they are being taken by the papa. Still important financially, by financial power is very important power, right? But then after 22 years of age, beta gets placed. Now he is earning his own salary. Therefore this is federalism. That is sharing of power between beta and papa. Sharing of power. There are some subjects which are still with papa, like marriage. Beta cannot say, papa ye dekho photo aapki bahu. Beta cannot say, beta cannot take all the decisions totally independently. There is balance. बातचीत के थ्रू होगा. You'll sit on the table, ठीक है, papa and son will sit on the table, ठीक है. Beta cannot say कि ना ऐसा हो सकता है कि you know father and son they start having some whiskey also together. ऐसा possible. Sharing of power. Sharing of power. बेटा बड़ा हो गया, ठीक है, बाप कह रहे कि कहीं और पी के भंडो, इससे पहले मेरे सामने ही भंड हो जाए, मैं देख लेता हूँ इसको कैसे कैसे इसको समझा देता हूँ मैं. दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो, ठीक है, कि क्या है कि भंड तो इसमें होना ही है, ठीक है, तो मेरे सामने ही हो जाए, मैं समझा देता हूँ इसको, ठीक है, उस प्रकार से. हाँ, मेरा दोस्त है ऐसा एक, उसको पिलानी उसके बाप ने सिखाई. मेरा माई फ्रेंड, हिज फादर टोल्ड हिम हाउ टू ड्रिंक. व्हाई? बिकॉज ही न्यू दैट हिज फादर ड्रैंक, his grandfather drank, so why he will not drink? But I should teach him how to hold the drink, so that he does not over drink or he does not, so he understands the contours, right? तो मैं ही सिखाता हूँ इसको, right? That kind of scenario. So he is a responsible drink करना हो, ठीक है. तो any this kind of scenario, right? तो ये ठीक है. So that is federalism with, that is federalism now. Confederation, शादी होगी, शादी हो गई. Now confederation. Now he is saying that I have separate family. I'll take all of my decision. सिर्फ शादी के कार्ड पे छपेगा that Mr. So and so invites you to wedding of son. Otherwise you have now your own family. अब परिंदा उड़ चुका है, ठीक है. Now you are confederation. That is very weak center, very weak papa. All the powers in your life with you now. You are now a proper adult. Now you can take all your decision. That is the meaning of federalism in simple manner. ठीक? So that is there. Sir, India is a federal country. अरे भाई सारे सवाल मुझसे पूछो, कुछ पॉलिटी वाले से पूछ लो. Right? Next, write down. Amending Act of 1781. Amending Act of 1781. Amending Act of 1781. Slash Bengal Judicature Act. Bengal Judicature Act. Bengal Judicature Act. Bengal Judicature Act slash Declaratory Act. Declaratory Act. Declaratory Act 1781. Declaratory Act. So these are basically nothing but synonyms, right? So therefore from the middle name you understand that it was primarily related to judiciary. So this act was brought to remove the confusion of jurisdiction between the Supreme Court at Calcutta and the GG Bengal's Council, right? So now more clearly it was decided. So what was decided? So it simply, so this is your, let's say Bengal, right? This is Bengal, Odisha, Bihar, ठीक? And here this is Calcutta. This is Calcutta, right? And Supreme Court is present here. Now what is happening? All cases which take place in Calcutta, irrespective of who is involved, they will go to Supreme Court at Calcutta. All cases money, even if an Indian has fired upon an Indian, or there is any civil dispute in between two Indians, all the cases in Calcutta will go to Supreme Court at Calcutta. ठीक? Outside of Calcutta, that means in the rest of Bengal, if there is any case involving a Britisher, if there is any case involving Britisher, it will go to Supreme Court, except acts done in official capacity. Acts done in official capacity. Right? these cases they will go to GG Bengal and his council. That means you are a Firangi, and if you have done any act in your official capacity, you were on duty and therefore you did something, you took some decision, right? Maybe you decided that I'm going to seize the property of you. This civil case will be dealt by the Governor General of Bengal because I acted in my official capacity, right? Even if I shoot someone, but when I was on duty, so I was maintaining law and order, I shot someone or I gave an order to shoot. If the party who is aggrieved party, he is filing a case, this case will be heard by GJ Bengal. Why? Because I was acting in my official capacity. But in my personal capacity, after my job, I have some personal dispute and I am involved in some case. Then that will be heard by Supreme Court at Calcutta. Right? So therefore, any case which involves a Firangi will go to Supreme Court of Calcutta except where the Firangi acted on his duty. You become an IPS officer, right? You are on duty, you killed someone. That case will go to Governor General of Bengal. You are an IPS officer. In your personal capacity, you had given some loan. You were doing some private trade, some corruption, right? And in your personal corruption matter, some dispute happened and you killed someone. That is not an act which you have done in your official capacity. That case will go to Supreme Court at Calcutta. Right? So, aisa hai. In Calcutta, all cases, this kind of scenario. Right? So, this is what is there. Write down. Isko bana lo. And then, so this is the jurisdiction. So, this is how the jurisdiction is more clearly defined. Right? So, all cases of Calcutta will go to Supreme Court. Plus, एक और चीज इसमें लिख लो, प्लस केसेस इन्वॉल्विंग, इसी के नीचे लिख लेना, प्लस केसेस रिलेटिंग टू EIC property, cases related to EIC property at Fort Williams. मतलब कोई बिजनेस डिस्प्यूट है ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी का. East India Company has purchased some goods from some Indian merchant, some issue is there, right? So related to property related issues of East India Company, they will go to Supreme Court at Calcutta. Obviously Fort Williams is also in Calcutta, so it is covered by this line also. Fort Williams is in Calcutta only, so it is covered by the first line also. So therefore this is going to be the jurisdiction of Supreme Court at Calcutta. All other cases will go to Governor General of Bengal and his council. Right? So this is how this clarification it is brought. So any case involving Indian, Virangi, whatever in Calcutta goes to Supreme Court, and any case that involves the Britishers goes to Supreme Court, except where the case involves a British acting in his official capacity, that is when he was on duty. Right? So that is the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. Therefore, now write down, therefore, it resolved ambiguity, therefore it resolved ambiguity, therefore it resolved ambiguity, therefore it resolved ambiguity in jurisdiction, therefore it resolved ambiguity in jurisdiction, ambiguity in jurisdiction, 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 between SC at Calcutta, between SC and GG Bengal, between SC and GG Bengal, between SC and GG Bengal. Next, write down Pitt's India Act 1784. Pitt's India Act 1784. Pitt's India Act, PITTS, Pitt's India Act, Pitt's India Act 1784. Named after Prime Minister William Pitt. Prime Minister William Pitt. Named after Prime Minister William Pitt. ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के लिखिए world history, United States of America was set up in 1783. US gained independence from Britain. US gained independence from Britain. US gained independence from Britain. That is the context of world history. That is context of world history. And therefore now the British state is very much worried कि कल को कहीं East India Company also should not declare independence. Right? So now they want to preserve India and they want to control the East India Company, not just regulate the East India Company. Right? So therefore that is the world history related context which is there. Right? So like some British had went to 13 colonies in North America. In 1783 they declared independence. Similarly from 1600 onwards some British they have come to India. What if they also declare independence? Right? So ऐसा मैं नहीं चाहता हूँ. That is what is there. And therefore what happens now is that here this is again Britain. So साथ साथ इसको बनाते जाइए. This is your Britain. So now more specifically what is said that you are the COD of EIC. Earlier you were sending information. Now you have to send each incoming and outgoing letter. That means information में तो मैं summary भी provide कर सकता हूँ. Information में तो मैं एक student ने कहा था ना sir what if GG Bengal gives wrong information, right? So therefore I can now exact letter. So therefore now all incoming COD of EIC has to send all incoming and outgoing letters. All incoming and outgoing letters. ये किसको दिए जाएंगे? To a new body within the state. State creates a new body called Board of Control. Like there is Ministry of Finance, like there is Ministry of Defense, like there is Ministry of Home. In a way they are creating Ministry of India called Board of Control. ऐसा मतलब समझने के लिए हम सोच सकते हैं. Right? So therefore they are forming something called BOC, Board of Control. Right? Obviously this BOC is responsible to the British Parliament. It is responsible to the British state. Parliament is part of the state. Right? And this BOC it can give, right? And these are also related to CMR matters. So at the rate CMR. So all information related to civil, military and revenue matters, every letter incoming and outgoing to India, right? You have to send to the Board of Control. And this Board of Control it can give binding orders. So see, in the Regulating Act 1773 you only opened your eyes and ears. But in 1784 you are also opening your mouth. Earlier information was coming only this way. And yes, in some special circumstances the Parliament it can say something. But now you can pass binding orders to the COD of EIC. Binding orders. That is which you cannot deny. जो आपको follow करने ही पड़ेंगे. Right? So you see this is control. This is control. Another thing that you do in India, there is this GG Bengal, right? And he is now converted. There was this problem of indecision was there. So therefore now 1 plus 3 is done. Instead of 1 plus 4, 1 plus 3 is done. So that less number of people are to be tackled by the GG Bengal and some problem of indecision it can be improved upon. This kind of scenario, right? इसके बारे में और discuss करेंगे हम later. But anyways, below here there is this GBO. He is also put in a council of 3. That is, he will also have 3 members below him, right? And GMA, he is also given a council of 3, right? So therefore now decision making everywhere is going to take place in this particular manner. Obviously, he can give orders, right? And therefore, and this time they are subordinated, not just in matters of war and peace, but also in matters of, okay, matters of war and peace, right? And some other matters, take some and revenue matters, right? Pitt's India Act 1784 and revenue matters, right? This kind of scenario it is being brought. And yes, you are responsible. You'll send all information. That is on commerce as well as on CMR matters. You'll send information to COD. COD will send all incoming and outgoing letters to the Board of Control, right? And Board of Control it can pass binding orders to the COD, but it also can pass binding orders to the directly to GG Bengal. Board of Control can pass an order directly to GG Bengal as well. To GG Bengal as well. Right? So this is how the system of control it is set up. Right? Another thing is there, the principal servants of the company. That is your governors, including Governor General, plus Commander in Chief of EIC. They can be only appointed by the company. Appoint kaun karega? Company. They can only be appointed by the company, but after approval of the crown. Principal servants of the company, they can be appointed only after approval of the crown. Right? That means now the top people of the company in India are going to be agents of the state. Are going to be agents of the state. Right? For example, what is your name? Shubham Kumar. What is your name? Rahul. Right? So initially the East India Company sends a file. I want to make Mr. Shubham Kumar the Governor General of Bengal. Right? Can I? Because you have said that approval has to be taken from you. The British government, because crown, democracy hai, so crown means British government. British government says no, I'm not giving approval. Right? Then again, the East India Company sends a file that okay, hereby I propose to appoint Mr. Rahul as the GG Bengal. Right? Still the crown is saying I'm not giving approval. Then finally the company will go to crown. Crown manegi the British government. And they will be, who do you want? Why are you not giving approval? Kisko chahte ho? Right? So therefore the crown will tell company that crown meet Mr. Cornwallis. Mr. Cornwallis, the crown will say EIC meet Mr. Cornwallis and Mr. Cornwallis meet EIC. ये हमारा लौंडा, ये भी लड़के आए, अमेरिकन वॉर ऑफ इंडिपेंडेंस हार गया वहां पे, बट लड़का ठीक है. Cornwallis is there, he had fought the American War of Independence 1776 to 1783, he lost, but लड़का ठीक है, इसका देखो. So now a fresh file will come. East India Company hereby wants to appoint Mr. Cornwallis 8693 1786 93 as the Governor General of Bengal. Crown will say yes, I agree. See? So therefore this is how the things are. So who will appoint Cornwallis? The company, but approval of the crown. That means Cornwallis is agent of company or agent of crown. Loyalty of Cornwallis will be more to the crown and less to the company. Although he is CEO of the company, although he is CEO of the company, but he is more loyal to the crown. And therefore this is how also the state is controlling the East India Company. BOC of British state. BOC of British state. Right? So therefore you here basically the principal servants. So another point that you can mention is that East India Company will send file for appointment, for approval of crown, for approval of crown at the rate appointment of its principal servants. Principal mane key, most important servants in India. Its principal servants in India. Right? And crown will do the approval. And crown will do the approval. So this is how the control it is being established. A, by having a board of control which can give binding orders to the COD as well as to the Governor General of Bengal. And B, by ensuring that the main people of the company in India are actually people of the government. They are the choices of the government. And their loyalty will be to the government. And therefore, East India Company will not be able to declare independence. Why? जो बंदा declare करेगा independence वो तो मेरा नुमाइंदा है. The person who can declare independence, it is my person. And therefore, repeat of history of United States of America will not take place because you are my man. In matters of war and peace, yes. And in matters of revenue. That is the meaning of subordination. Right? But final decision will be always of boss ka boss, that is of COD of EIC, and his boss, that is BOC. Right? So, isko aap bana lijiye. Right? Please make it. Crown means the British government. Prime Minister and his cabinet, which are responsible at the rate appointment, APTMT appointment of its principal servants in India. फाइल फाइल जाएगी क्राउन के पास, फाइल विल गो टू द क्राउन दैट दीज आर द नेम्स, इसको अप्रूव कर दो, प्लीज साइन कर दो. सरकार में फाइल चलती है, फाइल हेयर बाय वी प्रपोज, नोटिंग मिलती है, नोट शीट पे नोटिंग डलती है. बहुत फाइलें बनाई हमने. Right? So now write down properly. Now write down properly. Public affairs of EIC. Public affairs of EIC. Public affairs of EIC. Public affairs क्या है? CMR है ना? Public affairs of EIC and EIC's administration in India. And EIC's administration in India was brought under control of British Parliament, was brought under control of British Parliament, was brought under control of British Parliament by setting up Board of Control in brackets BOC, by setting up Board of Control in brackets BOC, Board of Control in brackets BOC in London, in London. In London. Next point, for first time the phrase dash British possessions in India dash, for first time the phrase dash British possessions in India dash used, but issue of sovereignty over territory under EIC, but issue of sovereignty over territory under EIC still not decided clearly, in brackets डाला करके, that is sovereignty of British state or of EIC, that is sovereignty of British state or of EIC, that is sovereignty of British state or of EIC, brackets closed, or of EIC, brackets closed. That means in a very rough way the British government is telling them that this is, but they are using a phrase, ज़्यादा कुछ बात नहीं कर रहे, but एक हल्का सा hint दे रहे हैं, right? हल्का सा hint दे रहे हैं, right? तो उस प्रकार से that this territory is my territory, British possessions. They are not using the term EIC possessions, they are using the term British possessions, right? So therefore ambiguity is still there, but clearly नहीं हो रही, but एक hint दे रहे हैं, right? So it is something like, for example, your father has given you a car to come to the coaching institute, right? But one day you said at home that you are going to coaching institute, and then your father, after having breakfast, was going out for work, and on the one red light near home he sees you. कहाँ पे? In the car with someone else. In the evening when you come back, your father asks you, or how was the class today? Class अच्छी थी, थक गया थोड़ा सा आज, क्लास अच्छी थी. मतलब क्लास अच्छी थी, बहुत सारी क्लास थी, क्लास अच्छी थी, ठीक है. तो तुम्हारे पापा ने कहा तुमको क्या कि बेटा keep keys of my car on, please keep keys of my car on that, whatever, in that drawer, right? That's it, right? So for the first time the father is now telling you indirectly that it is his car, right? But otherwise और कुछ ज़्यादा नहीं कहा. So the issue is still not clear that whether this car is actually yours properly or it is of your father's, right? That issue will become clear later, right? So anyways, next point. BOC is equal to, next point, BOC is equal to 6 members. BOC is equal to 6 members is equal to, BOC is equal to 6 members is equal to, BOC is equal to 6 members is equal to one of the secretaries of state, one of the secretaries of state, one of the secretaries of state. So see, multiple secretary of states were there, and this is like a cabinet level minister, or this is like cabinet minister, right? Cabinet minister level person is there, right? So one of the cabinet minister is going to be there, right? And he is also going to be president of BOC. He is also going to be president of BOC. He is also going to be president of board of control. President of board of control, right? Right. So therefore, this is totally a government body. Now you understand it is totally a government body. There should not be any confusion. Plus Chancellor of Exchequer. Chancellor of Exchequer. Chancellor of Exchequer. Plus Chancellor of Exchequer. Plus Chancellor of Exchequer. See, the loan which had been given, 10 million pounds of loan, that was public money. Right? Exchequer, we know, government saving account. Chancellor means the person who was holding the holder of treasury, the person who is responsible for that. You can think of him like either you can think of him like a RBI governor, or you can think of him like the secretary of Department of Expenditure, so something like this, Chancellor of Exchequer, right? So because the money has been given, so therefore to safeguard that money, this person is also present in the board of control. Right, because again by 1784 multiple wars have taken place. 1775 to 1782 first Anglo-Maratha war, and 1780-84 second Anglo-Mysore war. Right, so therefore again this fear is there that because of high military expenditure, kahin aisa to nahi, again you go bankrupt. Right, so therefore a person who is in charge of public money is also put in the board of control. So therefore he is also able to have a say. This kind of scenario. Plus 4 privy council members. Plus 4 Privy Council members, plus 4 Privy Council members, plus 4 Privy Council members. So what is a Privy Council? It is basically like in India, for example, emperor, right? He had a court. Similarly, for example, Nawab, he had a court, right? So therefore, at that time, उनका मतलब शुरुआत में, in the case of your king, that is British king, British monarch, इसके कोर्ट को कहा जाता था या इसकी कैबिनेट को कहा जाता था प्रीवी काउंसिल. प्रीवी काउंसिल, प्रीवी काउंसिल, like your Chhatrapati Maharaj, he had 8 ministers. अष्टप्रधान कहा जाता था. अष्टप्रधान, 8 ministers, of which one of was Peshwa, that is Pradhan Mantri. So basically, like emperor has a court, like Nawab has a court, like Chhatrapati had Ashtapradhan. Similarly, the name of the cabinet of British monarch or name of the court of British monarch is called Privy Council. Right? Privy Council. In fact, in the modern day, the British cabinet headed by Prime Minister is actually legally part of Privy Council. So जो king है उसको जब रूल करना है, he would want some good judges in the court, है ना? He would want, because he is the legislature, he is the judiciary, he is the executive. जो king है वही पार्लियामेंट है, कानून भी वही बनाता है, जो king है वही चीफ जस्टिस है, and जो king है वही एग्जीक्यूटिव है. So therefore, if I am king and I want to have a privy council or a court, there should be some good judges, right? There should be some good economists, there should be some good what you call as military generals, there should be some good what you call as और भी कुछ जो भी मतलब ठीक है, this is my this thing, right? And one of the person will be my wazir, right? So therefore, this Prime Minister, Westminster form of government, that Prime Minister combined with his cabinet, he is the actual ruler. So Prime Minister and his cabinet were part of Privy Council. Over a period of time, जैसे जैसे democracy आया Britain में, over a period of time like democracy came, so therefore power shifted from the, like from the Chhatrapati, power shifted gradually to Peshwa. Similarly, in the case of Britain, power shifted from the Chhatrapati, that is British monarch, to Peshwa, that is Prime Minister. Just that this power was shifting because of democracy. And this Prime Minister was from this Prime Minister and his cabinet was actually coming through elections. Right. So therefore, as so this is part of Privy Council. तो Privy Council में आपको सिर्फ ये बताना है, थोड़े सीनियर लेवल के मेंबर्स हैं, राइट. सो Privy Council ऐसा बस हमने इतना बता दिया, बुक्स तो इतना भी नहीं बताती हैं, बुक्स सिर्फ इतना देती है Privy Council, ठीक है. सो Privy Council का मतलब यहाँ पे ये है, जैसे नवाब का कोर्ट होता है, एम्पर का कोर्ट होता है, उसी प्रकार से ब्रिटिश मोनार्की इज हैविंग अ Privy Council, राइट. दैट मींस वेरी सीनियर मेंबर्स ऑफ द ब्रिटिश पॉलिटी, British government, British state, they are members of the board of control. That is the whole highlight, right? So that is what is there. Next point. Role of BOC is equal to, role of BOC is equal to superintend. Role of BOC is equal to superintend. Superintend, comma, direct and control. Superintend, comma, direct and control. Superintend, direct and control all acts, comma, operations and concerns. All acts, comma, operations and concerns. Superintend, direct and control all acts, operations and concerns related to civil, military and revenue government, related to civil, military and revenue government, related to civil, military and revenue government of British territorial possessions, of British territorial possessions in East Indies. British territorial possessions in East Indies. In East Indies. East Indies माने all lands to the right hand side of. So the act is futuristic. Today they have India, right? Tomorrow what if they have Burma? Okay? Tomorrow what if they have Afghanistan? So therefore we are not going to use the word India. बेवकूफ नहीं है. We are going to use the word East Indies. Why? Because East Indies means all territory to the right hand side of Cape of Good Hope, है ना? That is southernmost point of South Africa. Superintendent of police, direct control. मतलब वो कह रहे भाई they are using such legal language ताकि कोई loophole ना रह जाए. They are using such legal language कि कोई loophole ना रह जाए. भाई superintend भी समझ लो, डायरेक्शन भी तुम्हें देना, तुम्हें कंट्रोल भी करना, ठीक है. कहां कहां? इन ऑल एक्ट्स, कॉमा, ऑपरेशन, कॉमा, कंसर्न. मतलब सारी लीगल लैंग्वेज बेसिकली एक लॉयर को बिठा के दे हैव कवर्ड ऑल दी. दैट इज भाई टोटल कंट्रोल रहेगा हमारा, ताकि किसी लॉ के बेसिस पे यू कैन नॉट से सर दिस वाज वन ऑफ आवर कंसर्न, अभी वी हैड नॉट एक्टेड अपॉन इट but it was one of our concern that what if a war takes place. Abhi war hui nahi hai, it was just a concern, so that's why we did not share this information with you. Yenna Raskala, mind it. All acts, operations, concerns, everything, right? That means nothing is that. So this is only but legal language which is there related to public affairs, माने civil, military and revenue matters or revenue government of the. पहली बार देखो वर्ड यूज किया, British territorial possessions. British territorial possessions, EIC नहीं, British territorial possessions. So this is the first time they are using this phrase, British territorial possessions, right? एक बार mention बस कर दिया है. Next point. Therefore, अच्छा 2 questions आते हैं छोटे से, इन बच्चों का हेल्प कर देते हैं. सर US got independence on 4th of July 1776. नहीं भाई, it got independence in 1783. Right? What is the difference between revenue in CMR and commercial affairs of EIC? So here the revenue means tax revenue. Here the revenue means the revenue which you are getting as a government, right? And trade revenue is the revenue in the commerce matters, right? That is the earnings you are having from business, and the earning you are having because you are a government in the form of land revenue, in the form of other taxes. That is the meaning of revenue in CMR matters, right? So ये basic था, इसमें से I picked it up, right? So what is the difference between declaratory act of 1788? नहीं 1781 है, they are the same, ठीक है? उसमें कुछ और होगा, वो तुम डिटेल में जाके देख लेना, ठीक है? तो एनीवे अगर तुम 7880 को कोई और एक्ट है, मुझे पता नहीं उसके बारे में. सो एनीवेज नेक्स्ट पॉइंट राइट डाउन. देयरफॉर सीओडी ऑफ ईआईसी, देयरफॉर सीओडी ऑफ ईआईसी was top authority, therefore COD of EIC was top authority in commercial matters, therefore COD of EIC was top authority in commercial matters, in commercial matters, and BOC in public matters, BOC in public matters. Therefore, Pitt's India Act 1784 set up. Therefore, Pitt's India Act 1784 set up system of Pitt's India Act 1784 set up system of double government, system of double government, system of double government for EIC's affairs in India. System of double government for EIC's affairs in India. System of double government for EIC's affairs in India. System of double government for EIC's affairs in India. EIC is doing two things in India. A, it is acting like a businessman, and second, it is acting like a government. So EIC has two affairs, private, public, right? So see, if we look at the private affairs, so private affairs, they are not brought under supervision by the regulating act, they are not brought under control by the Pitt's Act. So therefore, can we say that COD, and in India there is this GG Bengal, right? In India there is GG Bengal, and below GG Bengal, right, there is what you call as your गवर्नर ऑफ बॉम्बे एंड मेड्रास, या फिर चलो ये भी चलो ठीक है बना देते हैं, गवर्नर ऑफ बॉम्बे एंड मेड्रास. दिस इज द हायरार्की एट द रेट कॉमर्शियल मैटर्स और प्राइवेट मैटर्स, कॉमर्शियल अफेयर्स, ठीक. हु इज द टॉप बॉस? सीओडी. बट इन द केस ऑफ CMR matters, or in the case of public matters where you are behaving like a state, what is the hierarchy? There is this board of control, and below this board of control there is this COD. That means COD has become a right hand man of BOC. The top boss is BOC. हाँ, तू मेरा काम संभालेगा, तू मेरा मैनेजर है. Below him GG Bengal, below him governor of Bombay and governor of Madras. So can we say that the top boss here is BOC, right? So therefore it is horizontal division of. So if I look at EIC, so EIC is doing two things, commerce and private and public, right? So I'm separating these two things horizontally, and I'm making one ka boss COD, another ka boss BOC. This is called double government. This is called double government. One government is BOC of BOC, and one government is of COD. In the private matters, who is the government? COD. In the public matters, who is the government? BOC. So therefore, two horizontal bosses of EIC's work in India, and therefore it is called double government. Therefore it is called double government. टू होरिज़ॉन्टल. भाई EIC आपके दो काम है, ठीक. एक आपका काम कुछ है, एक आपका काम कुछ है. इसमें आपका एक बॉस बना दिया, इसमें आपका दो बॉस. तो आप इसके हॉरिजॉन्टली आपके काम को डिवाइड करके योर प्राइवेट एंड योर पब्लिक अफेयर्स, इसका बॉस BOC बन गया, इसका बॉस आप ही रहे. सो कैन वी से देयर आर टू बॉसेस, टू हॉरिजॉन्टल बॉसेस, राइट, हॉरिजॉन्टल डिवीजन के बाद 2 बॉसेस है. दिस इज कॉल्ड डबल गवर्नमेंट. दिस इज कॉल्ड डबल गवर्नमेंट. राइट, सो व्हेन योर फंक्शंस आर डिवाइडेड, इसके बारे में आप ऑलरेडी पढ़ चुके हैं. Example, you're looking at Bengal, right? And horizontally, you divided the affairs of Bengal into 2 parts. One is Diwani and another is Nizamat. And therefore, Treaty of Allahabad said that in the Diwani, who is the boss? East India Company. And in the Nizamat, that is non-Diwani, who is the boss? Nawab of Bengal. So therefore, can we say that dual government is nothing but double government? Arey, dual or double synonym. So this is nothing new, just that वहां पे you are dividing the work of Bengal Nawab into 2 parts. Here you are dividing the work of East India Company in India into 2 parts. One is private, one is public. In that case, Diwani Nizamat. So therefore, it is nothing but dual government of Treaty of Allahabad 1765. Just that वहां पे dual है, यहां पे double है. ये बेवकूफ बनाते हैं हमें. These books they make us fool. एक जगह डुअल यूज कर लिया, एक जगह डबल यूज कर लिया. स्टूडेंट रट्टा मारे जा रहा है, कभी लिंक ही नहीं कर रहा. स्टूडेंट नेवर लिंक्स एक्चुअली. ऐसे दूसरे कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूट के बच्चों को यू शुड टीज बाय आस्किंग देम क्वेश्चंस, है ना, बट पूरा आंसर मत देना कभी. जस्ट कंफ्यूज देम, है ना, इतना कि मतलब पागल हो जाए. उनको ऐसा लगे कि दे आर नॉट अंडरस्टैंडिंग एनीथिंग. Only till that level, right? So therefore, this kind of scenario. नहीं ज़्यादा नहीं सिखाना, हमारा एज चले जाएगा, ठीक. So therefore, this kind of scenario it is there, right? But नहीं, in UPSC always remember, the more you teach each other, the more you will gain. The competition is so high that just by ensuring that your roommate is not able to benefit, you're not going to move ahead. There are many better people than your roommate. So therefore, always share. Never hoard information. It's fine. Does not matter. You have made your notes, give it to your roommate. It will come back to you in some good form. कोई problem नहीं है. One person is not going to hurt you. So therefore, there are people in our preparation. We'll try to ना कि नहीं मैंने तो नहीं किया अभी वो चैप्टर. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. हेल्प करो, जितना मोर यू विल एक्सप्लेन उतना बेटर रहेगा. राइट, बस एक दो और लाइन इसमें लिखनी है. इम्पैक्ट इसका बाद में करेंगे, बस 3-4 लाइन और लिखनी है. सो राइट डाउन नेक्स्ट पॉइंट. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, COD to send all incoming outgoing letters to India. COD to send all incoming / outgoing letters to India. All incoming / outgoing letters to India to BOC. To BOC. Plus BOC could now pass, plus BOC could pass binding orders, plus BOC could pass binding orders to COD and also to GG Bengal. To COD and also to GG Bengal. To COD and also to GG Bengal. Therefore within CMR, क्लास खत्म होने वाली है, भागने मन कर रहा है, मैं जानता हूं, बट इस लाइन को ध्यान से सुनना. Therefore within CMR, comma, GG Bengal now had 2 bosses. GG Bengal now had 2 bosses. In bracket स्टार लगा के vertical. In bracket स्टार लगा के vertical. Vertical. Bracket is closed. Within CMR, GG Bengal now had 2 bosses. Therefore, dual control of GG Bengal. Therefore, dual control of GG Bengal in brackets in public affairs, not commercial affairs. In brackets in public affairs, not commercial affairs, brackets closed. In public affairs, not commercial affairs, brackets closed. Now look at this, right? Right? बस एक सेकेंड, ठीक है, बस आप इतना बना लीजिए. सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ आई एम ओनली लुकिंग एट दिस, राइट, सो जस्ट बिलो दिस यू राइट डाउन दैट देयर इज दिस BOC, देयर इज दिस COD and there is this GG Bengal, right? So this, see, this board of control can also give orders to GG Bengal. This COD can also give orders to GG Bengal. So therefore, if I am GG Bengal, do not I have 2 bosses, right? And therefore it is dual control of me. I have two bosses, right? So therefore I can say मेरे दो दो बाप, मेरे दो दो बाप, ठीक है, ऐसा मूवमेंट डालो तो राइट हो, नेक्स्ट राइट हो, इसको बना लो, कुछ नहीं है, तो जीजी बंगाल के दो दो बाप हो गए बाय पिट्स इंडिया एक्ट, ठीक है, ऐसे याद करना, राइट? माय टू फादर्स, जीजी पिट्स इंडिया एक्ट, यू नेवर फॉरगेट, ठीक है ना? ऐसा वी शुड यूज फन. Why? Because those things which are learned at times, you know, with some kind of fun, those things are not forgotten. Those things are not forgotten, right? Two fathers of GG Bengal by Pitt's India Act. Next point. Now, principal servants of EAC, principal PAL wala, principal servants of EAC, principal servants of EAC, principal servants of EAC could be appointed. Principal servants of EAC could be appointed. Principal servants of EAC could be appointed only after approval of British Crown. Principal servants of EAC could be appointed only after approval of British Crown. Only after approval of British Crown. In brackets, that is GG Bengal, comma GBO, comma GMA, GG Bengal, GG Bengal, comma GBO, comma GMA, comma Commander in Chief CIC of EIC Army, CIC of EIC Army, Commander in Chief, Chief Information Commissioner नहीं, Commander in Chief of EIC Army, CIC of EIC Army, CIC of EIC Army bracket. So these are the principal servants. अरे चुप रहे यार. Next point. Therefore क्या जूते पड़वाएगा क्या भाई तू यहाँ पे? ठीक है, लोगों के 10-15 मिनट एक्स्ट्रा हो चुके हैं. Therefore EIC was allowed to retain. Therefore, EIC was allowed to retain. Therefore, EIC was allowed to retain commerce and patronage. EIC was allowed to retain commerce and patronage. In brackets, patronage क्या होता है? Power of appointing. Power of appointing officials. Brackets closed. Power of appointing officials. Brackets closed. Power of appointing officials, brackets closed. Next point, GG Bengal's size, GG Bengal's councils, GG Bengal's councils size, GG Bengal's councils size reduced to 3 members. GG Bengal's councils size, इतनी गंदी सेल से क्या दिख रहा भाई? GG Bengal's council size, 15 मिनट लिए एक्स्ट्रा. GG Bengal's councils size reduced to 3. Reduced to 3 for solving problem of indecision. Indigestion नहीं है, लिखो. For solving problem of indecision. For solving problem of indecision. As this led to increase in GG Bengal's power. As this led to increase in GG Bengal's power over his council. As this led to increase in GG Bengal's power over his council. And even with support of one member, he could get his decision approved. Even with support of one member, he could get his decision approved. As now he had 2 votes. Even with support of one member, he could get his decision approved. As now he had 2 votes. Dash a normal vote and casting vote. Now he had 2 votes, a normal vote and casting vote. As now he had 2 votes, a normal vote and casting vote. Normal vote and casting vote. So let's say this kind of scenario it is there. A decision it is to be made. Only one member says yes. Rest of the 2 members say no, no. Right? But this time GG Bengal also has a normal vote. He will say yes. Tie हो गया. And now in step number 2, GG Bengal will again say yes, right? So therefore decision will come in his favor. He had 2 votes. Normal also he will vote, and casting हो गया तो casting भी he will vote, right? Next point, GBO and GMA, इसको बना लेना बाद में, ठीक है, जब मैं चला जाऊँ क्लास से तब. GBO and GMA also put in council of 3. GBO and GMA also put in council of 3. Also put in council of 3. मतलब उनके लिए भी काउंसिल बना दिया. लास्ट पॉइंट, GBO and GMA, गवर्नर ऑफ बॉम्बे एंड मद्रास, GBO and GMA subordinated, GBO and GMA subordinated to GG Bengal, subordinated to GG Bengal in matters of war, peace and revenue. In matters of war, peace and revenue. In matters of war, peace and revenue. In matters of war, peace and revenue, plus responsibilities of these three, more clearly defined, plus responsibility of these three more clearly defined. ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के लिखिए वेगनेस, काटा काटा काटा. पहले था ना वेगनेस की इमरजेंसी सर्कमस्टांसेस, वो वेगनेस अब हट गई है. Earlier we had criticized the Regulatory Act of 1773 that the words are very vague, emergency circumstances. So what is the meaning of this sentence? That their responsibilities were more clearly defined. Vagueness हटा दी गई है. Vagueness of 1773 is now removed. कौन सी वेगनेस थी? इमरजेंसी सर्कमस्टांसेस के जो शब्द थे वो बड़े वेग थे, ठीक है. और एक और ब्रैकेट में स्टार लगा के लिखिए, that is why PS 1793 also in North Madras. That is why PS 1793 also in North Madras, and not just in Bengal. Bengal माने Bob. Because the governors of Bombay and Madras, they were subordinated not just in matters of war and peace but also in revenue matters. Revenue matters माने कि land revenue system के केस में भी the Governor General of Bengal can give some directions to governors of Bombay and Madras. So therefore you see, that is why permanent settlement is applied not just in Bengal, that is Bengal or Bihar, but also in North Madras. वो पूरे Madras में लगा दिया जाता, but Thomas Munro requested that no, in the case of Madras we should follow Ryotwari settlement system and not some other kind of system of permanent settlement, right? So therefore, because he is subordinated in matters of revenue also, that is why Cornwallis 8693 can give a direction कि भाई नॉर्थ मद्रास में भी आप लेके आए परमानेंट सेटलमेंट, वरना उसकी जुरिडिक्शन तो सिर्फ बंगाल थी ना. वाई इन नॉर्थ मद्रास देयर इज परमानेंट सेटलमेंट? हम क्या बस रट्टा मार लें दैट बंगाल, ओडिशा, बिहार एंड नॉर्थ मद्रास, और लिखा हुआ है गवर्नर जनरल ऑफ बंगाल, तो मद्रास कहां से आ गया भाई? वो तो गवर्नर ऑफ मद्रास डिसाइड करना चाहिए ना. आंसर मिलता है यहां, पिट्स इंडिया एक्ट 1784. In matters of revenue also you are subordinated. Thank you for your time. God bless you. In next class we will discuss impact of Pitt's India Act 1784. Honey is saying, but sir, in Bengal they have indirect rule. Only until 1772 they have indirect rule. After that they have direct rule.